In a world full of surface-level stories, we go deeper. Welcome to The Depth, your destination for facts, science, history, and mysteries that shape our world. Let's begin the journey, deeper than ever before. Have you ever stared at a word and felt your brain do a little somersault? That's the Stroop effect in action. It's that strange delay you feel when the word for a color, like blue, is printed in a different color, like red. Your brain wants to read the word, but also wants to name the color, and the two get into a little traffic jam. It's a fascinating peek into how our brains process conflicting information. It's not a glitch, it's just proof that your brain is working overtime. Speaking of words, where did the term sniper come from? It actually dates all the way back to the 1770s. It originally referred to hunters who were exceptionally skilled. Why? Because they had the incredible marksmanship needed to shoot a snipe, which is a notoriously small, fast, and difficult bird to hit. So, the word itself is a testament to incredible skill and precision, long before it took on its modern military meaning. It's a cool piece of linguistic history hidden in plain sight. Now, let's talk about a different kind of precision, the kind found in a shoe store. You know that metallic contraption they use to measure your feet? It's not just a foot measuring thingy. It has a proper name, the Brannock device. Invented in the 1920s, it measures the length of your foot, the width, and your arch length, ensuring you get the perfect fit. So next time you're getting sized for shoes, you can impress the salesperson by calling it by its real name. From your feet, let's travel up to your core, to something called the vagus nerve. This isn't just any nerve. It's the longest and most complex nerve in your autonomic nervous system. Think of it as a superhighway connecting your brain to many of your most important organs, especially your gut. It's the key player in the gut-brain axis, influencing your mood, immune response, digestion, and even your heart rate. So when you hear about a gut feeling, you can thank your vagus nerve for making that connection a reality. And while we're on the topic of things that aren't what they seem, let's debunk a common myth. The placebo effect isn't just all in your head. It's a real, measurable neurological event. When someone believes they're receiving a real treatment, even if it's just a sugar pill, their brain can actually release its own natural painkillers and trigger genuine physiological changes. It shows the incredible power of our minds and beliefs to influence our physical health. It's a testament to the profound connection between mind and body. Now, let's time travel a bit. What's older, the prestigious University of Oxford or the entire Aztec Empire? You might be surprised to learn that teaching was happening at Oxford as early as 1096. It became a fully fledged university by the 12th century. The Aztec civilization, on the other hand, founded their capital city of Tenochtitlan in 1325. So, Oxford has a couple of centuries on the Aztecs. It really puts the timeline of human history into perspective, doesn't it? Let's stick with history, but move to a more chilling moment, the sinking of the Titanic. We all know the tragic story, but did you know about the SS Californian? This ship was shockingly close to the Titanic, estimated to be only about 10 to 20 miles away. They saw the distress rockets fired by the sinking vessel but failed to understand their meaning and didn't respond. The wireless operator had even gone to bed just minutes before the Titanic's first distress calls were sent. It's one of history's most haunting what-ifs, from the high seas to the high-stakes world of finance. Have you ever heard of the Hindenburg omen? It sounds dramatic, and for traders it is. It's not a single data point, but a specific combination of technical indicators that, when they appear together, signal a very high probability of a stock market crash. It's named after the Hindenburg disaster, symbolizing a looming catastrophe. When this omen appears, it puts the entire financial world on high alert. Let's lighten things up a bit and head to the cosmos. Here's a classic mix-up, a light year. It sounds like a measure of time, right? But it's actually a measure of distance, a massive distance. It's the distance that light, the fastest thing in the universe, travels in 1 year. That's about 946 trillion kilometers, or 5.88 trillion miles. So when you hear that a star is 10 light years away, it means the light you're seeing tonight left that star a decade ago. It's like looking into the past. And for our final fact, let's get a little quirky. Where in the world would you find the largest paperclip? If you guessed Norway, you're correct. In Sandvika, Norway, there's a giant stainless steel statue of a paperclip, weighing over 600 kilograms. Why? Because a Norwegian named Johan Valler is often credited with inventing the paperclip back in 1899. Although his design was never manufactured, during World War II, Norwegians wore paperclips on their lapels as a quiet symbol of unity and national resistance, making it a powerful national icon. Have you ever heard of a baker's dozen? You probably know it means 13. But do you know why? Back in the day, bakers were super careful not to cheat their customers. Selling underweight loaves of bread could lead to some hefty fines, or even worse, public humiliation. To play it safe and make sure every customer got at least what they paid for, bakers would throw in an extra loaf for every dozen sold. So, that 13th roll isn't just a bonus. It's a piece of history, a tradition born out of a desire to be fair and avoid trouble. Pretty cool, right? Now, for all my fellow nerds out there, where do you think our name came from? You might be surprised to learn that we owe it all to the one and only Dr. Seuss. That's right. The word nerd made its very first appearance in his 1950 book, If I Ran the Zoo. In the book, there's a line that goes, and then, just to show them, I'll sail to K-True and bring back an it-kutch, a preep, and a prue, a nurgle, a nerd, and a seersucker too. So, the next time someone calls you a nerd, you can proudly tell them it's a term coined by literary genius. Wear that badge with honor. Have you ever noticed that when someone truly believes in you, you tend to perform better? There's a name for that, and it's called the Pygmalion effect. It is a psychological phenomenon where higher expectations placed upon people lead to an actual increase in their performance. Think about a teacher who sees potential in a student or a manager who trusts their employee to handle a big project. That belief can be a powerful motivator, pushing us to rise to the occasion and prove them right. It shows just how much our environment and the people around us can shape our success. So, be someone's cheerleader today. You might just help them achieve something amazing. Let's shift gears from the mind to the planet. If I asked you to name the world's longest mountain range, you'd probably say the Andes or the Rockies, right? Well, you'd be wrong. The longest mountain range on Earth is actually the Mid-Oceanic Ridge. It stretches for about 65,000 kilometers, or 40,000 miles, all around the globe. The catch? It's almost entirely underwater, snaking its way through the middle of our oceans. It's a massive, hidden world of volcanic activity that literally shapes the ocean floor and the continents themselves. It's a powerful reminder of how much of our planet is still a mystery, waiting to be explored beneath the waves. All right, let's get to something unbearably cute. What do you call a baby hedgehog? Any guesses? It's a hoglet. Isn't that just the most adorable name you've ever heard? Imagine these tiny, spiky little creatures just starting to explore the world. Hoglet. It just sounds as cute as they look. So, next time you see a picture of a baby hedgehog, you'll know the proper term. You're welcome. From cute animals to everyday technology. Think about the last time you went shopping. You heard that familiar beep at the checkout, right? Well, barcodes are everywhere, but what was the very first item to ever be scanned? It was a 10-pack of Wrigley's Juicy Fruit chewing gum. This historic scan happened at a Marsh supermarket in Troy, Ohio, back in June 1974. That simple pack of gum kicked off a retail revolution, changing the way we shop forever. From that one beep, an entire system of inventory management and streamlined sales was born. Now for a history lesson that sounds like it's straight out of a comedy sketch. What if I told you the longest war in history lasted 335 years and involved 0 casualties? It's true. The war was between the Netherlands and the Isles of Scilly, a small group of islands off the coast of Cornwall, England. It started in 1651 during the English Civil War. The Dutch, allied with one side, declared war on the islands. But then the main conflict ended, and everyone just forgot about this one tiny declaration of war. For 335 years, the two sides were technically at war until a local historian on the Isles of Scilly discovered the oversight in 1986. A peace treaty was officially signed, ending the world's longest and most peaceful war. No shots fired, no bloodshed, just 3 centuries of awkward silence. Let's travel even further back in time. Which came first, the city of Rome or the Great Pyramids of Giza? Most people automatically think of Rome as ancient, but the pyramids are on a whole other level of old. The city of Rome was founded in 753 BC. The Great Pyramid of Giza, however, was completed around 2560 BC. That means the pyramids were already ancient, standing for about 2,000 years by the time Romulus and Remus were supposedly founding their city. It really puts the timeline of human history into perspective, doesn't it? Cleopatra, for instance, lived closer in time to us today than to the construction of the pyramids. Let's get a bit scientific and talk about time. We all know what a second is, but how about a nanosecond? We hear the term thrown around, especially with computers, but what does it actually mean? A nanosecond is 1/billionth of a second. To put that into perspective, in the time it takes you to blink, about 100 million nanoseconds have passed. Light travels about 30 centimeters, or just under a foot, in a single nanosecond. It's an incredibly tiny slice of time, and it's the scale on which modern electronics operate. So, the device you're watching this on right now is performing billions of operations every single second. Mind-boggling. Let's talk about the origin of a word for a disease that has plagued humanity for centuries: malaria. It sounds kind of exotic, but its origins are quite literal. The word malaria comes from medieval Italian, malaria, which translates to bad air. For a long time, people believed the disease was caused by breathing in the foul, swampy air found in marshlands, where the illness was most common. They weren't entirely wrong about the location. Swamps are breeding grounds for mosquitoes, but they had the cause all mixed up. It wasn't until the late 19th century that scientists discovered that it was the mosquitoes themselves, not the air, that transmitted the disease. It's a fascinating example of how language can preserve old scientific theories, even long after they've been debunked. And that's a wrap on our journey through some seriously amazing facts. I hope you learned something new and have some great trivia to share with your friends and family. Which fact surprised you the most? Let me know down in the comments below. Let's talk about the heart of Cambodia, home to the largest religious monument on Earth, Angkor Wat. Forget what you think you know about ancient temples. This isn't just one building. It's a colossal stone city sprawling over 400 acres. Originally built in the 12th century as a Hindu temple dedicated to Vishnu, it gradually transformed into a Buddhist center. Imagine walking through its galleries, where miles of intricate carvings depict epic myths and historical events. The sheer scale is staggering. It's a testament to human devotion and engineering prowess, a place where the earth seems to touch the heavens. The central towers, designed to mimic the 5 peaks of Mount Meru, the mythical home of the gods, reach for the sky, reminding us of the incredible ambition of our ancestors. From a marvel we can see and touch, let's journey into a mystery we can't even read. I'm talking about the Voynich manuscript. This isn't just any old book. It's a 15th century codex filled with page after page of an unknown language and bizarre illustrations of fantastical plants, strange astronomical charts, and mysterious figures. For over a century, the world's best cryptographers, linguists, and even AI have tried to crack its code, and all have failed. Is it a lost language, an elaborate hoax, a secret alchemical text? The script is elegant and flows as if written by someone who knew exactly what they were saying, yet it matches no known linguistic pattern. The Voynich manuscript remains one of history's greatest unsolved puzzles, a silent book that taunts us with the secrets it refuses to share. Now, for a fact that's a bit more down to earth, literally. Grab the nearest pencil. You probably don't think much of it, but this simple tool is a marathon runner in disguise. The average pencil, filled with its graphite core, can draw a continuous line about 35 miles long. That's enough to trace the entire route of the Boston Marathon, with miles to spare. Or, to put it another way, you could write over 45,000 words. Think about all the ideas, stories, and sketches contained within that tiny stick of wood and graphite. The next time you pick one up, remember you're not just holding a pencil, you're holding a potential journey of 35 miles. It's a small reminder of the incredible potential packed into everyday objects. From the physical world to the digital, our next stop is one of the biggest headaches in computer science, the P versus NP problem. It sounds complicated, but the core idea is simple. Think about a Sudoku puzzle. Solving it can be incredibly hard and take a long time, but once you have a solution, checking if it's correct is super fast. P problems are the ones that are easy to solve, like checking the Sudoku. NP problems are the ones that are easy to check but might be very hard to solve. The million-dollar question, and yes, there's a literal $1 million prize for solving it, is whether every problem that's easy to check is also, secretly, easy to solve. If P equals NP, it would revolutionize everything from medicine and logistics to artificial intelligence and encryption, potentially making our current digital security obsolete overnight. Speaking of secrets and deception, let's turn to a real-life spy story that sounds like it came straight out of a Hollywood movie. It was called Operation Mincemeat, centered on the man who never was. During World War II, British intelligence needed to convince the Germans that the Allies were planning to invade Greece, not their real target, Sicily. Their solution? They obtained the body of a deceased man, created a completely fake identity for him as a Royal Marine officer, and planted fake top-secret documents on his person. They then released the body off the coast of Spain, knowing it would be found and the documents would be passed on to German intelligence. The Germans fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. They moved their troops to Greece, leaving Sicily vulnerable. This brilliant, macabre piece of deception saved thousands of lives and helped change the course of the war. Let's take a breath of fresh air and travel to the Scottish Highlands, to the highest point in the entire British Isles. Ben Nevis. Standing at 4,413 feet, it might not be a Himalayan giant, but the Ben, as it's affectionately known, is a formidable mountain. Its name is thought to mean venomous mountain, or mountain with its head in the clouds, and both are fitting. The summit is shrouded in fog for about 80% of the year, and its weather can change in an instant. What makes it fascinating is that Ben Nevis is actually the collapsed dome of an ancient volcano that imploded millions of years ago. So, when you're standing on its rocky peak, you're literally standing inside the heart of a long-dead giant. Now let's turn inward and explore a fascinating quirk of the human brain: the placebo effect. We've all heard of it. A patient feels better after taking a sugar pill they believe is real medicine. But here's the twist. Recent studies have shown that the placebo effect can work even when people know they're taking a placebo. In these open-label studies, participants are told explicitly, "This is a sugar pill with no active ingredients," and yet a significant number of them still report a reduction in their symptoms. This suggests that the ritual of treatment itself, the act of taking a pill, the interaction with a doctor, can trigger our brain's own healing mechanisms. It's a powerful demonstration of the mind's incredible influence over the body. Sticking with the brain, have you ever crammed for a test, only to forget everything the next day? There's a name for that: the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. In the late 19th century, psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered something startling about our memory. He found that we forget information at a shockingly fast rate. Within just 1 hour of learning something new, we typically forget about 50% of it. After 24 hours, that number jumps to around 70%. It's a humbling thought, but Ebbinghaus also gave us the solution: spaced repetition. By revisiting information at increasing intervals, after an hour, then a day, then a week, we can flatten the forgetting curve and transfer knowledge from our short-term to our long-term memory. So, that's your science-backed excuse to review your notes. Let's move from the mind to the body, specifically to what flows through our veins. What do you think is the most common human blood type in the world? If you guessed O positive, you're correct. Nearly 38% of the global population shares this blood type. This makes O positive donors universal red cell donors to other positive blood types, meaning their red blood cells can be given to anyone with A+, B+, AB+, or O+ blood. However, they can only receive O-type blood themselves. It's a fascinating aspect of our shared biology, a common thread that connects billions of us, regardless of where we come from. The average person, over the course of their lifetime, will walk about 75,000 miles. Let that sink in. That's the equivalent of walking around the entire equator of the Earth 3 times. Every step you take, to the kitchen, to work, on a hike, is part of this incredible, lifelong journey. It's a quiet, cumulative achievement that we all share. It's a powerful reminder that our lives are not just measured in years, but in the miles we travel and the journeys we complete, one step at a time. Now, let's talk about language. Ever wonder where the word alphabet comes from? It's actually a mashup of the first 2 letters of the Greek alphabet, alpha and beta. Simple, right? But it's one of those things that's hiding in plain sight. Speaking of things that are incredibly long, let's talk about the Nile River. We all know it's long, but can you guess the exact length? It stretches an incredible 4,232 miles. To put that into perspective, that's like driving from New York City to Los Angeles and then almost halfway back again. From geography to something a bit more ominous. Have you ever heard of the doomsday clock? It's not a real clock, but a symbol created by scientists to represent how close humanity is to a global catastrophe. The closer the hands are to midnight, the more danger we're in. It's a sobering reminder of the challenges our world faces. Let's switch gears to something a little more personal. What do you think is the most common lie people tell? It's not a big, elaborate fabrication. It's the simple 3-word phrase, "I'm fine." It's amazing how often we use this to hide what we're really feeling. It's a reminder to check in on our friends, even when they say everything's okay. Here's a small detail you've probably never noticed. Take a coin out of your pocket and look at the edge. See those tiny ridges? They have a name. They're called reading. Originally, they were added to precious metal coins to make it obvious if someone had shaved off a bit of the gold or silver. Time for some travel trivia. Which city gets more international visitors than any other place on Earth? If you guessed Paris or New York, you'd be wrong. The most visited city in the world is actually Bangkok, Thailand, known for its vibrant street life and ornate shrines. Let's rewind the clock to the age of home video. Before streaming, before DVDs, we had VCRs. But the first ever video cassette recorder wasn't some sleek little box. It was the size of a piano. Imagine trying to fit that into your entertainment center. We've come a long way, from technology to the very ground beneath our feet. What's the most common mineral in the world? It's a substance called perovskite. While you might not have heard of it, this mineral makes up a huge portion of the Earth's mantle and is now being studied for use in next-generation solar cells. Back to the English language. Which word do you think has the most definitions? The answer is the tiny 3-letter word set. It has hundreds of different meanings, whether you're setting a table, watching a sunset, or playing a set of tennis. It's incredibly versatile. Let's explore another world wonder. The largest religious monument on the planet isn't a cathedral or a mosque. It's Angkor Wat in Cambodia. This massive temple complex was originally built in the 12th century as a Hindu temple and later transformed into a Buddhist one. Its scale is just breathtaking. Now, for a true mystery that has stumped experts for centuries. Have you heard of the Voynich manuscript? It is a book from the 15th century, filled with strange illustrations and written entirely in an unknown script and language. To this day, no one has been able to decipher it. What secrets could it hold? Here's something to think about the next time you pick up a pencil. The average pencil, filled with graphite, can draw a continuous line about 35 miles long. That's enough to write tens of thousands of words or sketch an epic masterpiece. For all you tech and math nerds out there, this one's for you. The P versus NP problem is one of the most important unsolved problems in computer science. Essentially, it asks if every problem whose solution can be quickly verified by a computer can also be quickly solved by a computer. The first person to solve it wins a $1 million prize. A tale of espionage straight out of World War II that sounds like fiction, but is absolutely true. It's known as the man who never was. The British Allies took a corpse, gave it a fake identity as a military officer, and planted fake invasion plans on him. They then let the body wash ashore in Spain, where they knew the documents would be found by German spies. The deception worked perfectly, misleading the enemy and saving thousands of lives during the invasion of Sicily. Have you ever heard of a flood of molasses? It sounds like something out of a cartoon, but in 1919, Boston experienced a tragedy that was anything but funny. It's known as the Boston Molasses Flood. Imagine this: a massive storage tank burst, unleashing a 25-foot-high wave of thick, sticky molasses. This wasn't a slow ooze, it was a tidal wave moving at a blistering 35 miles per hour, crashing through the streets of the North End. The force was incredible, powerful enough to demolish buildings and sweep people and horses off their feet. Tragically, this bizarre disaster claimed the lives of 21 people and injured over 150 others. The cleanup took weeks, and locals claimed they could still smell the sweet scent of molasses on hot summer days for decades afterward. It's a strange and somber reminder that disasters can come in the most unexpected forms. Now, let's try a little experiment. Pick a spot on the wall or your screen and just stare at it. Don't move your eyes. As you keep staring, you might notice something weird happening to the things in your peripheral vision. The objects at the edges of your sight might start to fade, get blurry, or even disappear completely. What you're experiencing is a fascinating phenomenon called the Troxler effect. Your brain is incredibly efficient. When it receives constant, unchanging sensory information, like the static images in your periphery, it basically decides that information is not important and starts to filter it out. It's your brain's way of focusing on what's changing and new. So, if things start to vanish, don't worry. Your brain is just doing its job, tidying up your visual field. A quick flick of your eyes and everything will pop right back into view. Speaking of things that are hidden in plain sight, let's talk about code names. During World War II, one of the most secretive and world-altering projects in history was underway, and it was given a deceptively simple name: the Manhattan Project. This wasn't about developing a new skyscraper in New York. It was the code name for the top-secret American-led research and development undertaking that produced the very first nuclear weapons. Scientists like J. Robert Oppenheimer, Enrico Fermi, and a massive team of brilliant minds were gathered in secret locations like Los Alamos, New Mexico, racing against time. The project culminated in the Trinity test in July 1945, the first-ever detonation of a nuclear device, forever changing the course of history and introducing humanity to the atomic age. The name, Manhattan Project, was just a cover for a scientific endeavor with consequences that we are still grappling with today. From a project of destruction to a beacon of knowledge, let's travel back in time to the Islamic Golden Age. In the heart of Baghdad stood a legendary institution known as the House of Wisdom, or Beit al-Hikmah. This wasn't just a library. It was a vibrant, bustling center of learning that flourished from the 9th to the 13th centuries. Scholars from all over the known world, regardless of their background or faith, were invited to gather, translate, and study the world's knowledge. They translated Greek texts from figures like Aristotle and Plato, preserved Indian mathematical concepts, and made groundbreaking discoveries of their own in fields like algebra, medicine, optics, and astronomy. The House of Wisdom was the intellectual engine of its time, preserving ancient knowledge that might have been lost and fueling an era of incredible scientific and cultural advancement. Its eventual destruction was a tragic loss for all of humanity. Now, for a place that is more mystery than history, the Bermuda Triangle. You've heard the stories, right? A mysterious patch of ocean between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico where ships and planes supposedly vanish without a trace. It's a staple of paranormal pop culture. But here's something you might not know. The U.S. Navy, the very organization that navigates these waters constantly, does not recognize the Bermuda Triangle as an official geographic region. More importantly, they don't consider it a unique threat. Their official stance is that the number of disappearances in that area is no greater than in any other heavily trafficked part of the ocean. Weather, human error, and the geological features of the ocean floor can explain most incidents. So, while the idea of a mysterious vortex is thrilling, the reality is likely far more mundane. Let's debunk another famous story. The tale of the Trojan War, with Greek soldiers hiding inside a giant wooden horse to sneak into the city of Troy, is one of the most iconic stories from antiquity. It's a brilliant tale of cunning and deception. However, most modern historians believe the Trojan horse as we know it is largely a myth, a dramatic invention created by poets like Homer and Virgil long after the supposed event. But that doesn't mean there isn't a kernel of truth. Some scholars have a fascinating theory. The horse may have been a mistranslation or a metaphor. It might have actually been a type of siege engine, perhaps a large, timber-framed battering ram that was covered in wet horse hides to protect it from flaming arrows. Maybe it even had a horse-like shape. So, the Greeks might have breached the walls of Troy with a horse, just not the kind you're picturing. From ancient myths to modern marvels, can you guess when the first color photograph was taken? You might think it was sometime in the 20th century, but it was actually way back in 1861. The man behind it was a Scottish physicist named James Clerk Maxwell, the same guy famous for his work on electromagnetic theory. To prove his theories about color vision, he had his photographer, Thomas Sutton, take 3 separate black and white photos of a tartan ribbon. Each photo was taken through a different color filter, one red, one green, and one blue. Later, during a lecture, he projected the 3 images on top of each other using 3 different projectors, each with its corresponding colored filter. The result? The 3 black and white images combined to create a single, full-color projection of the ribbon. It was the birth of color photography, a revolutionary moment that would eventually change how we see and document the world. Here's one that might start a few arguments. What are your thoughts on pineapple on pizza? Love it or hate it, Hawaiian pizza has become a global phenomenon. But here's a fun fact. It has absolutely nothing to do with Hawaii. In fact, it wasn't even invented in the United States. Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada. In 1962, a man named Sam Panopoulos, a Greek-born Canadian restaurant owner in Chatham, Ontario, decided to get a little experimental. He was looking for a new, interesting pizza topping and, on a whim, decided to throw some canned pineapple on a pizza along with ham. He named it the Hawaiian, after the brand of canned pineapple he used. Little did he know, his simple experiment would spark one of the culinary world's most passionate and long-lasting debates. From the kitchen to the cosmos of mathematics, let's explore something of infinite beauty, the Mandelbrot set. You've probably seen images of it before. It's that stunningly intricate, bug-like shape that seems to contain endless swirls and spirals. The Mandelbrot set is a famous example of a fractal. What makes it so mind-blowing is that it is infinitely complex. If you zoom in on any part of its boundary, you'll find smaller, distorted copies of the entire shape, repeating forever and ever. It's generated by a surprisingly simple mathematical equation, yet it produces a visual landscape of endless detail and variety. It's a perfect example of how simple rules can create breathtakingly complex and beautiful patterns, a true meeting point of mathematics and art. Have you ever met someone who is not very good at something, but is completely convinced they're an expert? Or, on the flip side, have you known a true expert who is full of self-doubt? This is a well-documented cognitive bias known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's a fascinating paradox where people with low ability or knowledge in a particular area tend to overestimate their skill. This happens because the very skills they lack are the ones they would need to recognize their own incompetence. Conversely, highly competent individuals often underestimate their own ability, mistakenly assuming that tasks that are easy for them are also easy for others. It's a humble reminder that true wisdom often begins with recognizing how much we still have to learn. A little self-awareness can go a long way. Wow, what a journey through molasses floods, disappearing images, and pineapple pizzas. The original Kama Sutra wasn't just about physical intimacy. It was actually written as a guide for wealthy urban men on how to live a well-rounded and virtuous life. It covered everything from art and music to managing a household. It's one of those things we think we know, but the reality is so much more fascinating. Do you know the earthy scent right after it rains? It's so distinct, right? Well, that smell of rain actually has a name. Petrichor. It's caused by a chemical compound called geosmin, produced by soil-dwelling bacteria, which is released into the air when raindrops hit the dry ground. So next time you smell a coming storm, you can say, "Ah, petrichor is in the air." It's a little piece of scientific poetry. From the smell of the earth to the secrets of the universe, let's talk about speed. We all know the speed of light is fast, but how close can we get to it? At the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC, scientists are doing just that. They accelerate protons to 99.9999991% of the speed of light. Think about that for a second. It's so mind-bogglingly close to the absolute cosmic speed limit. At that speed, these tiny particles circle a 27-kilometer ring over 11,000 times per second. This incredible feat of engineering allows physicists to smash particles together and study the fundamental building blocks of our universe. Now, let's switch from physics to psychology. You've probably heard of the placebo effect, where a positive belief in a treatment can cause real, positive effects. But have you heard of its dark twin? It's called the nocebo effect. This is when a negative expectation causes you to experience negative symptoms. For example, if you're told a harmless sugar pill might cause headaches, you might actually start to develop a headache after taking it. It's a powerful reminder of how deeply our minds and bodies are connected, and how our beliefs can shape our physical reality for better or for worse. Speaking of powerful concepts, let's venture into the world of computer science. There's a question so profound, so difficult, that there's a $1 million prize waiting for anyone who can solve it. It's called the P versus NP problem. In simple terms, it asks, if the answer to a problem can be checked quickly by a computer, that's NP, can that answer also be found quickly by a computer, that's P? Most computer scientists believe P does not equal NP, meaning some problems are fundamentally harder to solve than to verify. If someone proved P equals NP, it would revolutionize everything from cryptography and logistics to medicine and artificial intelligence. Our entire digital world, including online security, rests on the assumption that they are not equal. Let's stick with the digital world for a moment and talk about the Internet. You've likely heard the terms deep web and dark web, often used interchangeably, but they are very different. The deep web is simply the part of the Internet that isn't indexed by search engines like Google. This includes your private email inbox, your online banking portal, and content behind paywalls. It's huge, making up the vast majority of the Internet. The dark web, on the other hand, is a small, specific part of the deep web that requires a special browser, like Tor, to access. It's designed for anonymity, and while it has a notorious reputation, it's also used by journalists, activists, and citizens in oppressive regimes to communicate securely, from the hidden corners of the Internet to the hidden corners of our own psychology. Have you ever seen someone in trouble in a crowded place and wondered why nobody was helping? This phenomenon has a name: the bystander effect. It as a psychological principle where individuals are less likely to offer help to a victim when other people are present. The more people there are, the less personal responsibility each individual feels, assuming someone else will step in. It's a chilling reminder of how social dynamics can sometimes override our better instincts. Recognizing this effect is the first step to overcoming it. If you're ever in that situation, pointing to a specific person and saying, "You, in the red shirt, call for help," can break the diffusion of responsibility. Now, for a concept that blurs the line between human and machine. How can we tell if an artificial intelligence is truly thinking? In 1950, the brilliant mathematician Alan Turing proposed a test. It's called the Turing test. The setup is simple. A human judge engages in a natural language conversation with two other parties, one a human and the other a machine. If the judge cannot reliably tell which is which, the machine is said to have passed the test. It's not a perfect measure of consciousness, but it set the foundation for the entire field of AI and remains a benchmark for creating intelligent behavior that is indistinguishable from our own. from the challenges of artificial intelligence to the grand challenges of physics. Imagine trying to predict the exact path of the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun, all moving and pulling on each other at the same time. This is a classic example of the three-body problem. While we can solve the two-body problem perfectly, like predicting the Earth's orbit around the Sun, adding just one more body makes the system chaotic and fundamentally unpredictable over long periods. Its motion can't be described by a simple, single formula. This unsolved problem has fascinated mathematicians and physicists for centuries, showing us that even in a universe governed by precise laws, some things remain beautifully, intractably complex. During World War II, Nazi Germany used a seemingly unbreakable cipher device called the Enigma machine to encrypt its military communications. The machine had a series of rotating scramblers that created billions upon billions of possible combinations. Breaking this code was one of the greatest intellectual achievements of the 20th century, famously accomplished by Alan Turing and his team at Bletchley Park. Their work is estimated to have shortened the war by several years, saving countless lives. It was a top-secret triumph of ingenuity and perseverance that laid the groundwork for modern computing. Ever feel like your brain is playing tricks on you? Like when you walk into a room and completely forget why you're there? Or when you swear you remember a movie scene a certain way, only to find out it never happened? Well, you're not alone, and it's not just you being forgetful. Our brains are incredibly complex, and sometimes they do things that seem downright bizarre. Imagine you're at a party. Music is blasting, people are laughing, and dozens of conversations are happening all at once. It's chaos. Yet, somehow, if someone across the room says your name, you hear it, or you can tune out all that noise and focus intently on the person you're talking to. This is the cocktail party effect. It's your brain's incredible selective attention skill. It acts like a sophisticated audio filter, deciding what's important and what's just background noise. It's a survival mechanism, really, helping us pick out crucial signals from a sea of information. So next time you're in a crowded cafe and can still hear your friends gossip, thank your brain's built-in noise-canceling feature. Now, let's get a bit stranger. Imagine feeling an itch on a hand that isn't there. This is the reality for many people who have had a limb amputated. It's called phantom limb sensation. The brain has a map of the body, and even when a part of the body is gone, its representation in the brain can remain. These brain areas can become active and create powerful, real sensations, from a gentle touch to intense pain, in the missing limb. It's a haunting reminder that our experience of our body is constructed entirely within our minds. Scientists are still studying this, and it's leading to amazing breakthroughs in understanding how the brain processes sensory information and pain. Have you ever had a gut feeling about something? Or felt butterflies in your stomach when you were nervous? That's not just a metaphor. It's a real biological process called the gut-brain axis. Your gut and your brain are in constant communication. This isn't a one-way street, it's a two-way biochemical highway. Your brain can affect your gut. Stress, for example, can cause digestive issues. But fascinatingly, your gut can also influence your brain. The trillions of microbes in your digestive system can impact your mood, your thoughts, and even your behavior. It's a whole second brain down there. This connection is a hot topic in research, exploring how gut health might play a role in mental well-being. Okay, this next one might make you question reality. Do you remember the classic children's books, the Berenstain Bears? Or do you remember them as the Berenstein Bears with an E? If you chose the second one, you're experiencing the Mandela effect. This is a bizarre phenomenon where a large group of people share a false memory of a past event. The name comes from the widespread but incorrect memory of Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. From movie lines to brand logos, there are countless examples. Is it proof of alternate universes, as some theories suggest? Or is it simply a fascinating quirk of how our memories are formed, stored, and sometimes corrupted on a massive scale? The jury's still out. Speaking of memory, have you ever crammed for an exam, felt like you knew everything, and then forgotten most of it a day later? You've just experienced the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. Back in the 19th century, Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered that we forget things at a predictable rate. His research showed that we lose about 50% of new, non-essential information within just 1 hour, and about 70% within 24 hours. It's a bit depressing, right? But his work also gave us the solution: spaced repetition. By revisiting information at increasing intervals, you flatten the forgetting curve and transfer knowledge from your short-term to your long-term memory. So, don't cram. Study smart. Now, let's talk about the power of belief. The Pygmalion effect, also known as the Rosenthal effect, is the incredible phenomenon where higher expectations placed upon people lead to an increase in their performance. In a famous study, teachers were told that certain students were intellectual bloomers who were expected to do exceptionally well. Even though these students were chosen at random, they ended up outperforming their peers by the end of the year. The teacher's expectations, communicated through subtle cues like more encouragement and attention, created a self-fulfilling prophecy. It shows just how much the beliefs of others can shape our own potential and success. So, believe in people. It might just help them shine. Here's a fun little brain test for you. I'm going to say a word, and I want you to say the color of the ink it's printed in. Ready? If you saw the word blue written in red ink, you probably hesitated for a split second before saying red. That hesitation is called the Stroop effect. Your brain's automatic response is to read the word itself, but the task requires you to name the color, creating a mental conflict. This simple test reveals a lot about our attention and processing speed. It demonstrates the interference that occurs when our brains have to handle two conflicting pieces of information at once. It's a classic and frustrating example of how our automatic brain processes can get in the way. Imagine hearing a symphony and seeing a brilliant explosion of colors, or tasting a strawberry and feeling a smooth, round shape in your hand. This is the world for someone with synesthesia. It's a neurological condition where the stimulation of one sensory pathway leads to an automatic, involuntary experience in a second pathway. It's like the brain's wiring gets a little crossed. The most common form is graphemicolor synesthesia, where letters or numbers are perceived as having their own distinct colors. It's not a disorder, but rather a different way of experiencing the world. Many famous artists and musicians have had synesthesia, using their unique sensory experiences to create incredible works of art. We spend about a third of our lives sleeping, but what's really going on in our brains? One of the most critical stages of sleep is REM, which stands for rapid eye movement. This is when your eyes dart back and forth behind your closed eyelids. It's also the stage where most of our vivid, bizarre, and story-like dreams happen. During REM sleep, your brain is incredibly active. Almost as active as when you're awake, but your body is essentially paralyzed, a safety mechanism to stop you from acting out your dreams. Scientists believe REM sleep is crucial for memory consolidation, emotional regulation, and learning. It's our brain's nightly maintenance and creativity session. Do you know what tells you to feel sleepy at night and wake up in the morning, even without an alarm clock? That's your circadian rhythm. It is a 24-hour internal clock that runs in the background of your brain and cycles between sleepiness and alertness. This biological clock regulates not just your sleep-wake cycle, but also your hormones, body temperature, and metabolism. It's primarily influenced by light, which is why looking at your phone screen late at night can throw it off and make it harder to sleep. Keeping a consistent schedule helps keep your circadian rhythm in sync, leading to better sleep and overall health. It's the master conductor of your body's daily orchestra. Let's start with your brain, the command center of your entire being. Tucked deep inside is a tiny, pine cone-shaped gland called the pineal gland. Its size is deceiving because it has a massive job. It's your body's personal nightlight manager. It produces melatonin, the hormone that tells your body when it's time to power down and go to sleep. So, the next time you feel sleepy, you can thank your little pineal gland for sending out the lights out signal. Now, let's move to the back of your head. There, you'll find the cerebellum. In Latin, that means little brain, and it's a perfect name. This densely packed structure is the master coordinator for all your voluntary movements. Think about walking, grabbing a cup, or even just standing upright without falling over. That's your cerebellum at work, ensuring your movements are smooth, balanced, and precise. It's the reason you can pat your head and rub your stomach at the same time, or at least try to. It's the silent hero behind your grace and coordination. But how do the two halves of your brain talk to each other? They're connected by a massive superhighway of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. Imagine millions of telephone lines buzzing with information, allowing your left hemisphere, which often handles logic and language, to communicate instantly with your right hemisphere, the hub for creativity and spatial awareness. This constant communication is what allows you to perform complex tasks, solve problems, and experience the world as a unified whole. It's the ultimate bridge of consciousness. Moving down from the brain, let's talk about something we all experience: stress. Ever wonder where that feeling comes from? Perched on top of your kidneys are the adrenal glands. When you're faced with a stressful situation, like a big exam or a public speaking engagement, these glands release cortisol, often called the stress hormone. In short bursts, cortisol is incredibly helpful. It gives you that burst of energy and focus you need to deal with a challenge. It's your body's built-in fight or flight manager. Now for a truly underappreciated organ, the spleen. You might have heard of it, but what does it actually do? Think of your spleen as the ultimate recycling and purification plant for your blood. It's constantly filtering your entire blood supply, identifying and removing old, worn-out red blood cells. It then cleverly recycles the useful parts, like iron, to be used in new blood cells. At the same time, it acts as a critical part of your immune system, storing white blood cells and helping to fight off infections. It's a silent, hard-working guardian of your bloodstream. Speaking of misunderstood body parts, let's talk about the appendix. For decades, it was famously dismissed as a useless vestigial organ just waiting to cause problems. But recent science is giving the appendix a major reputation makeover. Researchers now believe it acts as a safe house for the good bacteria in your gut. If you get sick and your digestive system is flushed out, the appendix can release its reserve of beneficial microbes to help repopulate your gut and get your digestion back on track. So, far from being useless, it might just be your gut's secret backup generator. All right, open wide and say, "Ah!" See that little dangling thing at the back of your throat? That's your uvula. It's more than just a fleshy punching bag. The uvula plays a surprisingly important role in speech, helping you articulate certain sounds in various languages. It also helps guide food and drink down your throat, and, as many of us have unfortunately discovered, it's a key trigger for the gag reflex, helping to prevent us from choking. It's a small but mighty gatekeeper. Now let's look at some features right on your face. That vertical groove between the base of your nose and your upper lip has a name. It's called the philtrum. While its primary function in humans is a topic of scientific debate, it's essentially the spot where different parts of the face merge together during your development in the womb. It's a beautiful, subtle reminder of the intricate puzzle of human development. It's one of those features that makes your face uniquely yours. Let's move to your hands. Look down at your fingernails. See that whitish, crescent-shaped area at the base? That's the lunula, which is Latin for little moon. The lunula is the visible part of your nail matrix, the area where your fingernail begins to grow. The white color is simply because the cell layer is thicker there, and it covers the blood vessels underneath. So, if you ever damage your lunula, it can affect how the rest of your nail grows. It's the launch pad for your fingernails. And, finally, one more for you. The smooth patch of skin between your eyebrows, just above your nose, is called the glabella. It's one of those fun anatomical terms you can use to impress your friends. You can also test a simple neurological reflex there. If you gently tap someone's glabella, they will blink. Tapping repeatedly usually causes the blinking to stop, but for some people, it doesn't. It's a small, simple spot with a cool name and a neat little reflex test. The part of your brain making sense of all these visuals is the occipital lobe. Tucked away at the very back of your head, this is your personal movie projector, your visual processing powerhouse. Every color, shape, and movement you see is decoded right here. It's thanks to your occipital lobe that you can distinguish a cat from a dog, or a friend's face in a crowd. Without it, the world would just be a blur of meaningless light. Now, let's move to the front. The frontal lobe, right behind your forehead, is the CEO of your brain. It's your personality, your decision-making center, your future planning department, all rolled into one. When you're weighing the pros and cons of a big decision, solving a tricky puzzle, or just holding back from eating that entire cake in one sitting, that's your frontal lobe at work. It's the control panel that governs your most complex thoughts and behaviors, shaping who you are as an individual. Within this impressive frontal lobe, there's a very special neighborhood called Broca's area. If you've ever spoken a word, you have Broca's area to thank. This is your brain's speech production factory. It takes your thoughts and translates them into the intricate muscle movements of your tongue, lips, and vocal cords needed to form words. It's the difference between thinking hello and actually being able to say it out loud. It's a marvel of coordination that we use effortlessly every single day. But speaking is only half of the communication equation, right? You also need to understand what others are saying. For that, we travel to another critical language hub, Wernicke's area. Typically located in the temporal lobe, this is your brain's language comprehension center. When someone speaks to you, the sound waves hit your ear, but it's Wernicke's area that deciphers the meaning behind those sounds. It turns a jumble of noises into coherent sentences, allowing you to understand stories, follow instructions, and engage in meaningful conversations. Broca's area lets you talk. Wernicke's area lets you understand. Now, let's dive a little deeper, beneath the major lobes, to some of the brain's unsung heroes. Ever felt that rumbling in your stomach that tells you it's lunchtime? Or that dry feeling in your mouth that sends you running for a glass of water? You can thank your hypothalamus for that. This tiny but mighty structure is the crucial link between your nervous system and your endocrine system, which regulates hormones. It's your body's internal thermostat, managing hunger, thirst, body temperature, and even your sleep cycles. It's constantly working behind the scenes to keep your body in a state of balance, or what scientists call homeostasis. Just above the hypothalamus sits the thalamus. Think of the thalamus as the brain's ultimate switchboard or grand central station. Almost all the sensory information from your body, everything you see, hear, taste, and touch, passes through the thalamus before being routed to the correct processing area in the cerebral cortex. It sorts through the immense flood of incoming data and directs traffic, ensuring that the right signals get to the right places. It's the gatekeeper of your senses, deciding what information is important enough to reach your conscious awareness. Next up, let's talk about habits. Ever ridden a bike, played a musical instrument, or typed on a keyboard without consciously thinking about every single movement? That's the magic of the basal ganglia. These structures, deep within the brain, are masters of procedural learning and habit formation. When you first learn a new skill, you have to think about every step. But as you practice, the basal ganglia take over, automating the process. They allow you to perform complex motor sequences smoothly and efficiently, freeing up your conscious mind to focus on other things. They are the reason practice makes perfect. Of course, we can't talk about the brain without discussing emotions. The limbic system is a collection of structures that are often called the emotional brain. This is where your feelings of joy, fear, anger, and pleasure are generated. It's deeply involved in motivation, memory, and our most fundamental survival instincts. When you feel a rush of excitement or the sting of disappointment, your limbic system is firing on all cylinders. It's the ancient primal part of our brain that drives our behavioral and emotional responses, connecting our past experiences with our present feelings. Now, let's zoom out from the brain itself and look at how it gets its information. Let's go back to vision. Your eyes are incredible, but the real work happens on a thin layer of tissue at the back of your eye called the retina. The retina is packed with photoreceptor cells. It contains about 120 million rods, which are super sensitive and allow you to see in low-light conditions, though not in color. And it has about 6 million cones, which are responsible for your sharp, detailed color vision in bright light. These cells convert light into electrical signals that are then sent to the occipital lobe for processing. And what about hearing? The beautiful spiral-shaped structure in your inner ear, which looks like a tiny snail shell, is the cochlea. When sound waves enter your ear, they cause vibrations that travel into the cochlea. Inside, these vibrations move a fluid that stimulates thousands of tiny hair cells. These hair cells are the nerve endings for hearing, and they convert the physical vibrations into electrical signals that your brain can interpret as sound. Have you ever pulled an all-nighter and felt like a zombie? Well, imagine doing that for over a week. The official record for the longest a human has voluntarily gone without sleep belongs to a high school student named Randy Gardner. Back in 1964, for a science fair project, he stayed awake for an astonishing 11 days and 25 minutes. That's 264.4 hours. By the end, he was experiencing hallucinations and paranoia. It was a seriously risky experiment, and doctors strongly advise against ever trying it. Sleep is crucial for your health, so please get your 8 hours. Now, for a question that has divided households for generations. You drop a piece of pizza, cheese side down, of course. You snatch it up in a flash. Is it still safe to eat? Many of us live by the 5-second rule, the idea that if you pick up dropped food quickly enough, it's still germ-free. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's a total myth. Scientists have tested this, and bacteria can transfer to your food in less than a second. The amount of bacteria depends more on the surface. A sticky, wet floor is way worse than a dry one, but the transfer is pretty much instant. So, next time you drop that cookie, you might want to think twice before popping it in your mouth. Let's switch gears from science to something you see every single day. The letters E and J. You know that little dot floating above them? It actually has a name. It's called a tittle. That's T-I-T-T-L-E. This tiny mark was added in the Middle Ages by scribes to distinguish the letters E and G from other letters with vertical strokes, like U and M, especially in dense handwritten text. So, the next time you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's, you can say you're tittling your I's. It sounds a bit funny, but it's a real word. Speaking of words with strange origins, how about a baker's dozen? We all know it means 13, but why not just say 13? The tradition dates back to medieval England. Bakers who were caught selling loaves of bread that were underweight or short faced severe penalties including fines or even public flogging. To avoid any chance of accidentally shortchanging a customer, they started throwing in an extra loaf for every dozen sold. This extra bit of bread was called the vantage loaf. It was a simple insurance policy to keep them out of trouble and their customers happy. So, a baker's dozen is a relic of a time when bread was very, very serious business. From bakers to books, let's talk about one of the most beloved children's authors of all time. Dr. Seuss. He gave us The Cat in the Hat, Green Eggs and Ham, and the word nerd. That's right. The very first recorded use of the word nerd appears in his 1950 book, If I Ran the Zoo. In the book, the narrator lists a bunch of imaginary creatures he'd collect for his zoo, including a nurgle, a nerd, and a seersucker, too. At the time, the word had no defined meaning. It was just a typical Seuss-ism. But it was picked up by students in the following years and evolved into the term we know today for a studious, socially awkward person. Who knew Dr. Seuss was so ahead of his time? Now, let's get technical. You see this symbol all the time on social media. The hashtag. But what was it called before it was a hashtag? Its official technical name is an octothorpe. Octo refers to the 8 points on the symbol, and the thorpe part is a bit of a mystery. One popular theory is that it was named in honor of the Olympic athlete Jim Thorpe by some telephone engineers at Bell Labs who were adding it to the telephone keypad in the 1960s. So, next time you're trending, you can tell your friends you're using an octothorpe. Here's another symbol with a secret identity. The ampersand. This guy, right here. N. It looks like a fancy squiggle, but it's actually 2 letters cleverly disguised. The ampersand is what's known as a ligature, which is when 2 or more letters are joined together into a single symbol. It represents the Latin word et, which means and. If you look closely, especially at certain fonts, you can see the shape of a capital E and a T woven together. It was even considered the 27th letter of the alphabet for a long time. When children recited the alphabet, they would finish with and per se, and, which eventually slurred together to become ampersand. Ever tried to write a sentence that uses every single letter of the alphabet? There's a name for that. It's called a pangram. The most famous example in English is, of course, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. It's short, it makes sense, and it contains all 26 letters, which is why it's often used to test typewriters and computer keyboards. But there are others, like pack my box with 5 dozen liquor jugs. Creating a coherent pangram is a fun linguistic challenge. Give it a try. Let's unravel another word mystery. When you're solving a puzzle or a crime, you unravel a clue. That phrase is more literal than you might think. The word clue originally comes from the Old English word clue, which meant a ball of thread or yarn. Think about the Greek myth of Theseus in the labyrinth. He used a ball of thread, a clue, to find his way back out after slaying the Minotaur. So, a clue became something that guides you through a difficult problem, just like a thread guiding you through a maze. You literally follow the thread to find the solution. When something terrible happens, we call it a disaster. The word feels heavy and full of doom, and for good reason. It comes to us from Greek roots, dis, meaning bad, and aster, meaning star. A disaster was literally a bad star. Ancient civilizations heavily believed in astrology and thought that the alignment of planets and stars directly influenced events on Earth. A calamity or a great misfortune was therefore blamed on unfavorable celestial alignments, an ill-fated event written in the stars. So, when you use the word disaster, you're echoing a thousands of years old belief in the power of the cosmos. Imagine you're walking past a bakery. That incredible scent of freshly baked bread hits you. What's happening? You can thank your olfactory bulb for that. This amazing structure, located right at the front of your brain, is your personal smell detector. It's the very first stop for any scent that enters your nose. It takes in all that aromatic information and zips it off to other parts of your brain to be processed. Think of it as the nose's brain. Without the olfactory bulb, the world would be a much less fragrant place. No smell of rain, no scent of morning coffee. A tragedy, right? It's a tiny part of you, but it adds so much color and richness to your daily experience. Now, that smell of bread makes your mouth water, and you decide to go in and buy a piece. You take a bite. It's warm, slightly salty, a little sweet, delicious. That amazing perception of taste isn't just happening on your tongue. The real magic happens in your gustatory cortex, tucked away deep in your brain. This is your personal flavor headquarters. Your tongue sends signals about sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami, and the gustatory cortex puts it all together like a master chef, creating the complex flavor profile you experience. It works hand in hand with your olfactory bulb, which is why food tastes so bland when you have a cold and your nose is blocked. Smell and taste are a dynamic duo, and the gustatory cortex is the brain's 5-star restaurant, serving up every delicious flavor you've ever enjoyed. While you're enjoying that bread, something incredible is happening that you're not even thinking about. Your heart is beating, you're breathing, and your stomach is starting to digest that delicious bite. Who's running this show? Meet the unsung hero of your body, the autonomic nervous system. This is the automatic system, the ultimate multitasker that controls all the involuntary actions you don't have to consciously think about. It's split into 2 main parts: the sympathetic system, which is your fight or flight response that gets you revved up in stressful situations, and the parasympathetic system, which is your rest and digest mode that calms you down. It's constantly working, 24/7, keeping your internal world in perfect balance without you ever having to lift a finger. It's the silent, tireless manager that keeps your entire operation running smoothly. Okay, so the autonomic system handles the automatic stuff. But what about the things you choose to do? Like right now, you might decide to reach for your drink, scratch an itch, or even just shift in your seat. That's all thanks to its partner, the somatic nervous system. Soma means body, and this system is all about controlling your voluntary muscle movements. It's the communication highway between your brain and your skeletal muscles. When you decide to walk, your brain sends a signal down through the somatic nervous system to your leg muscles, telling them to move. It's how you interact with the world around you. From typing on a keyboard to kicking a ball or giving someone a hug, it's the system that turns your thoughts into actions, giving you control and agency over your own body. Now let's move from the internal wiring to some of the physical structures you can actually see and feel. Gently touch the side of your face, just below your eye. That firm bone you feel there? That's your zygomatic arch, more commonly known as your cheekbone. But it's more than just a pretty feature that gives your face its shape. The zygomatic arch is a crucial anchor point for some of your most powerful chewing muscles. Every time you bite into an apple or chew a steak, this sturdy bone is providing the support needed for your jaw to do its job. It's a perfect example of how form and function come together in the human body, providing both structure and strength. So next time you see someone with great cheekbones, you can think, wow, they have a really strong anchor for their chewing muscles. Let's zoom in a little closer on the face. Look in a mirror at the corner of your eye, where your upper and lower eyelids meet. That little corner is called the canthus. You have an inner canthus near your nose and an outer canthus on the side. While it might seem like a tiny, insignificant detail, the canthus is incredibly important for the health of your eyes. The inner canthus contains the lacrimal caruncle, that small, pinkish bump, which helps with tear drainage, keeping your eyes clean and lubricated. It's a small but vital part of your eye's anatomy, ensuring that everything works correctly to protect your vision. It's another one of those little details that shows just how intricately designed our bodies are. Every tiny part has a specific and important job to do. Let's go back inside the body to an organ that plays a massive role in your energy levels: the pancreas. Tucked behind your stomach, this hardworking gland has two major jobs. One is to produce digestive enzymes to help break down your food, but its most famous role is producing insulin. After you eat that piece of bread, your blood sugar level rises. The pancreas detects this and releases insulin, which acts like a key, unlocking your body's cells to let the sugar in for energy. This process keeps your blood sugar levels stable. Without the pancreas doing its job correctly, this whole system gets out of balance, which is what happens in diabetes. It's a vital regulator, the master of your body's energy economy, ensuring every cell gets the fuel it needs to function. Now, let's travel back up to the brain, to a structure with a name that sounds like it belongs in the sea: the hippocampus. Named after the Greek word for seahorse because of its curved shape, the hippocampus is your brain's memory maker. Specifically, it's crucial for forming new long-term memories. Think of it as the save button for your experiences. When you learn a new fact, meet a new person, or experience a significant event, your hippocampus is working hard to encode that information and file it away for later retrieval. Damage to the hippocampus can make it nearly impossible to form new memories, leaving a person stuck in the past. It's the bridge between your present experiences and your future recollections, the storyteller of your life, weaving the narrative of who you are based on where you've been. While the hippocampus is saving your memories, another part of your brain is busy interpreting the world of sound. Put your hands over your ears, on the sides of your head. The brain region located right there is the temporal lobe. This is your brain's primary auditory processing center. Every sound you hear, from the words I'm speaking right now, to the music you love, to the faintest whisper, is processed and understood in your temporal lobes. But that's not all they do. They are also heavily involved in understanding language and are closely linked with the hippocampus to help form memories associated with sounds and speech. So when a certain song instantly transports you back to a specific moment in your life, you can thank the powerful connection between your temporal lobe and your hippocampus. Now, let's move up to the top and back of your head. The region there is called the parietal lobe. This lobe is your primary sensory integration center. It processes all sorts of sensations like touch, temperature, pressure, and pain from all over your body. When you touch something hot, the parietal lobe is what tells you, "Ouch, pull your hand away." But it also has a more complex job. It helps you understand your body's position in space. It creates a mental map of your surroundings, allowing you to navigate a room without bumping into furniture, and lets you know where your limbs are without having to look at them. It's your built-in GPS and sensory switchboard, constantly updating your brain on what's happening both on your body and around it, allowing you to interact with your world safely and effectively. Now, let's talk about a word we all became very familiar with recently: quarantine. It sounds so official, so medical, but its origins are much more nautical. Back in the 14th century, when the Black Death was ravaging Europe, ships arriving in Venice from infected ports were forced to anchor and wait for a specific period before their crew and passengers could come ashore. How long did they have to wait? 40 days. In Italian, that's 40 giorni. Over time, this term for a 40-day isolation period was shortened to just quarantine, and it stuck. So next time you hear it, picture a ship bobbing in the Venetian lagoon, waiting for the all-clear. Speaking of diseases, let's talk about malaria. For centuries, people believed this deadly illness was caused by breathing in the foul-smelling air from swamps and marshes. In Italian, bad air is malaria. See where this is going? They literally named the disease after what they thought caused it. It wasn't until the late 19th century that scientists discovered the real culprit was a parasite transmitted by mosquitoes, which, coincidentally, happened to breed in swampy areas. So, they were partially right about the location, but totally wrong about the cause. The name, however, remains a fossil of that old, mistaken belief. Now, from sickness to something we all hope to get, a salary. What could this possibly have to do with the stuff you sprinkle on your French fries? Everything. In ancient Rome, salt was an incredibly valuable commodity. It was used to preserve food, for medicine, and was just a vital part of life. Roman soldiers weren't always paid in coin. Sometimes their payment included a ration of salt. This allowance for buying salt was called a salarium. From salarium, we get the word salary. It's the origin of the saying, "worth your salt," meaning you are competent and deserving of your pay. So, your paycheck is, etymologically speaking, salt money. Let's switch gears to the very foundation of our language. Have you ever wondered why the collection of letters we use is called the alphabet? This one is beautifully simple. It comes directly from ancient Greek. The first two letters of the Greek alphabet are alpha and beta. Just smash them together. Alpha, beta. And there you have it, alphabet. It's like calling our system the ABs. It's so straightforward, it's almost genius. Many writing systems are named this way. It's a global linguistic tradition hiding in plain sight. How about a drink? The word whiskey has a wonderfully poetic origin. It traces back to Gaelic, the traditional language of Ireland and Scotland. In Gaelic, the phrase uishe beatha means water of life. When English speakers heard this, they, anglicized it. Wishy slowly morphed in pronunciation until it became whiskey. So, when you're enjoying a glass of fine whiskey, you're technically sipping on the water of life. It certainly adds a little bit of magic to the experience, doesn't it? After a long day, maybe you need to wash your hair. Where does the word shampoo come from? It doesn't sound very English, does it? That's because it isn't. The word traveled all the way from India. It comes from the Hindi word champo, which means to press, knead, or massage. During the colonial era, British traders in India experienced the traditional practice of a therapeutic head massage with oils and herbs. They brought the practice and the word back to Britain. Initially, shampooing meant massaging. It wasn't until much later that the word became exclusively associated with washing your hair with a sudsy liquid. So, shampoo's roots are in the art of massage. Now for a word with a much more ferocious history: berserk. We use it to describe someone going wild or crazy. Its origin is pure Viking. In Old Norse, a berserk was a champion warrior who fought with a frenzied, uncontrollable, trance-like fury. The name itself is thought to mean either bear shirt, implying they wore bear skins, or bear shirt, meaning they fought without armor. These warriors were terrifying, believed to be immune to pain, and would howl and bite their shields in a battle rage. So, when your friend goes berserk because their favorite team lost, they are channeling their inner Viking warrior. Let's talk about a word with military precision. Sniper. You might picture a highly trained marksman, but the word's origin is much more humble and has to do with birds. In the 1770s, British officers in India would go hunting. One of the most challenging birds to hunt was the snipe. It's a small, fast, and erratically flying bird, making it incredibly difficult to shoot. A hunter who was skilled enough to consistently hit a snipe was called a sniper. The term was a compliment, a testament to their marksmanship. Over time, this term for a skilled hunter was adopted by the military to describe a sharpshooter. What about breaking things on purpose? The word sabotage has a fascinating and possibly mythical backstory. It comes from the French word sabot, which is a type of simple wooden shoe or clog worn by factory workers in the 19th century. The popular story goes that during labor disputes, disgruntled workers would throw their sabots into the complex machinery to jam it and bring production to a halt. This act of protest gave us the word sabotage, while historians debate whether this actually happened on a wide scale. The story itself has been powerful enough to cement the word's meaning in our language forever. It's a story of workers' resistance, captured in a single word. Now, let's look at how a word's meaning can completely flip over time. Take the word nice. Today, calling someone nice is a compliment. It means they're kind, pleasant, and agreeable. But if you traveled back to the 13th century and called someone nice, they'd be deeply insulted. Back then, nice came from the Latin nescius, meaning ignorant or unaware. Through Middle English, it came to mean silly, foolish, or stupid. Over hundreds of years, its meaning slowly softened. It went from silly to shy, then to dainty or precise, and then to subtle. It wasn't until the 18th century that it finally settled on its modern meaning of kind and agreeable. The word sinister itself. Today, it means evil or threatening, but its original meaning was much simpler, though rooted in ancient superstition. In Latin, sinister literally just means on the left side. For centuries, left-handedness was viewed with suspicion and considered unlucky or even unnatural in many cultures. The right hand, or dexter in Latin, where we get words like dexterity, was associated with skill, righteousness, and good fortune. So anything on the left was sinister. It's a fascinating example of how a simple directional term evolved into a word loaded with negative meaning, all thanks to an old-school bias against lefties. So next time you hear it, remember it's not really about evil, just about which hand you prefer. Now, how about a word we use when we want to protest or refuse to do business with someone? Boycott. This one isn't from ancient Latin or Greek. It's actually named after a real person, and the story is pretty dramatic. Meet Captain Charles Boycott, an English land agent working in Ireland back in 1880. He was known for being harsh and inflexible with the tenant farmers on the estate he managed. During a period of agricultural crisis, the farmers demanded a rent reduction, but Boycott refused and even started evicting them. In response, the community came up with a new, non-violent form of protest. They simply refused to have anything to do with him. Farmhands wouldn't work his fields, shopkeepers wouldn't sell to him, and even the postman stopped delivering his mail. He was completely isolated. The strategy was so effective that his name, Boycott, became the term for this very act of collective shunning. So, every time you talk about boycotting a company, you're channeling the spirit of those Irish farmers from 1880. Let's move from social protest to medieval warfare. Ever tried to find a loophole in a contract or a rule? You're looking for a small gap or ambiguity that lets you get around the intended meaning. Well, the original loopholes were much more literal. The term comes from the narrow vertical slits you see in the walls of medieval castles. These openings were just wide enough for an archer inside to loop an arrow through and shoot at attackers, while remaining almost completely protected. They were defensive weak points by design. Over time, the meaning shifted from a physical opening in a wall to a figurative opening in a law, a contract, or an argument. It's a clever way to escape a tricky situation, just like an arrow escaping a castle wall. The next time you're searching for a legal loophole, picture a castle archer getting ready to fire. Okay, let's switch gears to one of the most common and universal words in the English language. Okay. We use it for everything from I agree to I'm fine to let's do this. But its origin is, frankly, a bit of a joke. Back in the 1830s in Boston, there was a trendy fad among young, educated people to use playful abbreviations for common phrases, often with intentional misspellings for comedic effect. Think of it as the 19th century version of internet slang like LOL or BRB. OK first appeared in print as an abbreviation for all correct, a deliberately misspelled version of all correct. It was a silly, insider joke. While other slang from that era faded away, OK got a massive boost during the 1840 presidential campaign of Martin Van Buren, whose nickname was Old Kinderhook. His supporters formed OK clubs, and the term exploded into the mainstream. It's amazing to think that one of the most useful words in the world started out as a sarcastic, misspelled joke among friends. Here's one that might make you rethink your finances. The word mortgage. It sounds so official and, let's be honest, a little intimidating. Well, its origin is even more intense. Mortgage comes to us from Old French. It's a combination of two words, mort, meaning death, and gage, meaning pledge. So, a mortgage is literally a death pledge. How cheerful is that? The idea was that the pledge or the agreement dies in one of two ways. Either the debt is successfully paid off, killing the pledge, or if the borrower fails to pay, their claim to the property dies. It was a stark reminder of the seriousness of the loan. So, when you're signing those papers, you're technically making a death pledge. Don't worry, though, it's just about paying it off. Now let's venture into the animal kingdom for some fantastic names. First up, the hippopotamus. This massive, water-loving creature has a name that perfectly describes its lifestyle, if you know a little ancient Greek. The word is a direct combination of hippos, meaning horse, and potamos, meaning river. So, a hippopotamus is, quite literally, a river horse. The ancient Greeks, upon seeing these huge animals spending so much time in the water, made a connection that has stuck with us for thousands of years. It's a beautiful, descriptive name that paints a perfect picture, isn't it? A horse of the river. Staying with large animals and ancient Greek, what about the rhinoceros? That big, tough-skinned animal with the iconic feature on its face. Its name is just as straightforward as the hippos. It comes from the Greek words rhino, which means nose, and keras, which means horn. Put them together, and you get rhinoceros, or nose-horned. It's a classic case of say what you see. The Greeks saw an animal with a horn on its nose and named it exactly that. It's so simple, yet so effective. The next time you see a rhino, you can just think, ah, yes, the nose horn. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the simplest descriptions are the ones that last the longest. Let's move from the animal kingdom to a Friday night favorite. What about karaoke? It's a word that feels distinctly Japanese, and that's because it is. But what does it actually mean? It's a blend of two Japanese words, kara, which comes from karapo, meaning empty, and oke, which is a shortened form of okesutora, the Japanese word for orchestra. So, karaoke literally translates to empty orchestra. It refers to the music tracks that have the vocals removed, leaving an empty space for the singer to fill. It perfectly captures the essence of the activity, a full band sound without the actual band. So, when you're belting out your favorite tune, you're performing with the empty orchestra. From singing to strategy, let's talk about the game of chess. The ultimate goal is to declare checkmate. It's the final, decisive move that wins the game. This phrase sounds so official and has a powerful, almost regal feel to it. That's because it has its roots in the Persian language, where chess is believed to have been refined. The phrase is Shah Mat. Shah means king in Persian. You might recognize it from titles like the Shah of Iran, and Mat means is dead or is helpless. So, when you say checkmate, you are directly echoing the ancient Persian declaration, Shah Mat, the king is dead. It's not just a game term, it's a pronouncement of the king's final defeat, carrying centuries of history in just 2 words. Whether you're a surfer, a slacker, or just greeting a friend, dude is everywhere. But it didn't start out so relaxed. In the late 19th century, dude was actually a term of mockery. It referred to a man who was overly concerned with his appearance, a dandy. Think of someone dressed in the latest, most extravagant fashions, trying way too hard to be stylish. These men were called dudes. The term was popularized by the 1883 song, The Dude. Over the decades, its meaning completely flipped. It went from being a put-down for someone trying to be cool to being a cool, laid-back term of endearment. So the next time you say, "Hey dude," remember you're using a word that once meant the exact opposite. When you hear the word gymnasium, you probably picture treadmills, weights, and people in athletic wear. But the origin of this word is, well, a little more revealing. It comes from the ancient Greek word gymnasin, which literally means to exercise naked. That's right, in ancient Greece athletes trained and competed in the nude. It was believed to be a tribute to the gods and an appreciation of the male physique. So, next time you're sweating it out on the elliptical, just be glad dress codes have changed. A lot. From the gym to the theater, let's talk about tragedy. When we think of tragedy, we think of heartbreaking stories like Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet. But the word itself, tragoidia in Greek, has a much stranger translation, goat song. Historians have a few theories about this. One idea is that a goat was the prize for the best tragic play in ancient Athenian drama festivals. Another theory is that early theatrical performances involved a chorus of actors dressed as satyrs, mythical half-man, half-goat creatures who would sing and dance. So, every time you talk about a tragic movie, you're technically referencing a song about goats. It kind of takes the edge off, doesn't it? Have you ever felt a sudden, overwhelming, and seemingly reasonless fear? That feeling of panic? Well, you can thank a Greek god for that. The word panic comes from Pan, the god of the wild, shepherds, and flocks. Pan was depicted with the hindquarters, legs, and horns of a goat. He was said to live in the woods and remote mountains. The ancient Greeks believed that if you disturbed his afternoon nap or wandered into his territory, he would let out a terrifying shout, causing panikos deima, or panic fear, a sudden, irrational terror that would make travelers flee without any real danger being present. It's that chilling feeling of being watched in the woods. So, that sudden jolt of fear, it's just an echo of an ancient god's angry shout. All right, let's move from words to something you can eat. Picture a carrot. It's orange, right? Of course it is, except it wasn't always. For centuries, carrots were not orange at all. The original carrots, first cultivated in Persia around the 10th century, were purple or yellow. You could also find white and red varieties, but definitely not orange. So where did the orange carrot come from? We have the Dutch to thank for that. In the 17th century, Dutch farmers, in a patriotic move, started cultivating orange carrots in honor of the House of Orange, the Dutch royal family. They crossbred different varieties until they achieved the vibrant orange color we know today. These carrots were sweeter and more appealing, and they quickly became popular across Europe, eventually making the original purple ones a niche novelty. Speaking of food, let's talk about a condiment that's in almost every refrigerator: ketchup. Today, we slather it on fries and burgers, but in the 1830s you might have bought it from a doctor. Seriously, ketchup was originally sold as a medicine. An Ohio physician named Dr. John Cook Bennett began claiming that tomatoes could cure ailments like indigestion, diarrhea, and jaundice. He published recipes for tomato ketchup and concentrated them into pill form. For a while, ketchup pills became a hugely popular patent medicine, with several other people jumping on the bandwagon and making their own versions. Of course, the medical claims were eventually debunked, and the ketchup craze as a cure-all faded. It found its true calling not in the medicine cabinet, but on the dinner table. Now, for a food item that has a bit of a mixed reputation, Spam. You either love it or you hate it, but have you ever wondered what the name actually means? It's not just a random word. Spam is a portmanteau, a word blended from two others. In 1937, Hormel Foods held a competition to name their new canned pork product. The brother of a Hormel executive suggested Spam, a combination of spiced and ham. The name was catchy, short, and won the competition. So, the mystery is solved. It's not scientifically processed animal matter, or any of the other funny acronyms people have come up with over the years. It's simply spiced ham. Let's move on to something sweet. Who doesn't love M&Ms? Those little candy-coated chocolates that melt in your mouth, not in your hand. But what do the M's on the candy shell stand for? It's not a secret, but many people don't know the story. The two M's stand for Mars and Murray. Forrest Mars, Sr., the founder of the Mars Company, came up with the idea for the candy after seeing soldiers in the Spanish Civil War eating chocolate pellets with a hard, sugary coating to prevent them from melting. He partnered with Bruce Murray, the son of the president of Hershey Chocolate. Murray received a 20% stake in the product in exchange for a steady supply of chocolate, which was rationed during World War II. Thus, M&M was born, representing the partnership between Mars and Murray. Here's another sweet treat with a surprising origin story: the popsicle. This iconic frozen dessert wasn't created in a fancy food lab by a team of experts. It was invented by accident, by an 11-year-old boy. In 1905, a young man named Frank Epperson left a cup of soda with a wooden stirring stick in it on his porch overnight. The temperature dropped, and when he woke up the next morning, he found the drink had frozen solid to the stick. He realized he'd created a tasty frozen treat on a handle. He called it the Epsicle. Years later, as an adult, he patented his invention, and at the urging of his own children, he changed the name to Popsicle, because they called it Pop's Cycle. A simple childhood accident led to one of the most beloved summer treats of all time. Next up, a dessert that sounds like it comes straight from Europe: German chocolate cake. With its rich layers of chocolate cake, coconut pecan frosting, it feels like something you'd find in a Bavarian bakery. But here's the twist: German chocolate cake has absolutely nothing to do with Germany. It's 100% American. The cake was named after a man named Samuel German. In 1852, he was an English-American baker working for the Baker's Chocolate Company, and he developed a type of dark baking chocolate for them. The company named it Baker's German's Sweet Chocolate in his honor. Over a century later, in 1957, a Texas homemaker submitted a recipe to a Dallas newspaper called German's Chocolate Cake, using this specific chocolate. The recipe became incredibly popular, but somewhere along the line, the possessive S was dropped, leading everyone to believe it was a German dessert. Now let's talk about the Hawaiian pizza. The combination of pineapple and ham on a pizza is famously controversial. People have strong opinions on whether pineapple belongs on pizza at all. But wherever you stand on the issue, you might assume it was invented in Hawaii, right? Wrong. Hawaiian pizza was actually invented in Canada. In 1962, a man named Sam Panopoulos, a Greek-born Canadian who ran a restaurant in Chatham, Ontario, decided to experiment with toppings. He was inspired by the sweet and savory combinations in Chinese cuisine and decided, on a whim, to throw some canned pineapple on a pizza along with ham. He and his brothers liked it, so they put it on the menu. They called it the Hawaiian, simply because the brand of canned pineapple they used was from Hawaii. And, just like that, a culinary controversy was born, not on a tropical island but in a small Canadian town. Picture this: you're at your favorite Indian restaurant, and you order the classic, the king of curries, chicken tikka masala. That rich, creamy, tomato-based sauce with tender chunks of chicken. It's the quintessential Indian dish, right? Wrong. Believe it or not, chicken tikka masala wasn't invented in Delhi or Mumbai. It was created in Glasgow, Scotland. The story goes that in the 1970s, a chef named Ali Ahmed Aslam at the Shish Mahal restaurant had a customer complain that his chicken tikka was too dry. In a moment of inspiration, Chef Ali improvised by adding a can of tomato soup and some spices to create a sauce. And just like that, a culinary legend was born. So, the next time you're enjoying this beloved dish, you can thank the Scots for this happy accident. It's a perfect example of cultural fusion, creating something delicious and new. Keeping with the food theme, let's slice into another menu staple, the Caesar salad. When you hear Caesar, you probably think of Julius Caesar, ancient Rome, and maybe even a toga party. It sounds so classically European, so imperial. But the truth is, this salad has nothing to do with Roman emperors. It was actually invented in Tijuana, Mexico. The creator was an Italian immigrant named Cesare Cardini, who ran a restaurant there in the 1920s. The story goes that during a busy 4th of July weekend, his kitchen was running low on supplies. Cardini whipped together what he had on hand: romaine lettuce, croutons, Parmesan cheese, olive oil, eggs, and Worcestershire sauce. He made a show of preparing it tableside, and it was an instant hit with the Hollywood celebrities who frequented his restaurant. So, the Caesar salad is not Roman, but a brilliant piece of Mexican-Italian-American culinary history. Now, let's move from the kitchen to your utensil drawer. You've seen it. You've probably used it at a picnic or in a cafeteria. That weird-looking hybrid of a spoon and a fork. I'm talking, of course, about the spork. It seems like a modern, quirky invention, right? Maybe something from the fast food boom of the 50s or 60s. Well, you might be surprised to learn that the spork is actually a Victorian-era invention. A patent for a combination spoon, fork, and knife was filed way back in 1874 by a man named Samuel W. Francis. His design was a bit more complex than the plastic ones we see today, even including a little knife edge on the side of the fork tine. While it didn't become a household staple, the concept has endured for over a century. It's a testament to the timeless human desire to solve a simple problem: how to eat soup and salad with just one utensil. Let's switch from physical objects to the building blocks of language itself. Have you ever been so shocked and confused at the same time that you didn't know whether to use a question mark or an exclamation point? You wanted to write something like, "You did what?" Well, there's actually a punctuation mark designed for exactly that feeling. It's called the interrobang, and it looks like this: a question mark superimposed over an exclamation point. It was invented in 1962 by an advertising executive named Martin Spector. He felt that regular punctuation just could not capture the blend of surprise and inquiry that modern life often demanded. While the interrobang never fully caught on, and you won't find it on most keyboards, it's a fascinating piece of typographical history. It's the perfect symbol for those moments of pure, unfiltered disbelief. What do you think? Should we bring it back? Sticking with language, let's look at a word we use every day without a second thought: goodbye. It sounds simple, a straightforward way to say farewell, but its origins are much more beautiful and profound. Goodbye is actually a contraction, a shortened form of the phrase, "God be with ye." Over centuries of common use, "God be with ye" was slurred together and evolved into the word we know today. So, every time you say goodbye to someone, you are, in a historical sense, wishing them a blessing. It's a lovely reminder that our modern language is filled with echoes of the past, carrying hidden meanings and sentiments from generations long gone. It adds a little bit of poetry to our everyday partings. Okay, let's head to the breakfast aisle. Who lives in a ship on your cereal box and sails the sea of milk? Captain Crunch, of course. This naval hero with the iconic blue uniform and oversized hat has been a breakfast staple for decades. But did you know he has a full name? It's not just Cap'n. His full official name is Horatio Magellan Crunch. That's right, he shares names with both the famous British Admiral, Horatio Nelson, and the legendary explorer Ferdinand Magellan. It gives a certain gravitas to the man who discovered the crunchberries on Crunchberry Island. So next time you pour a bowl, you can give a little nod to Captain Horatio Magellan Crunch, explorer of the Milk Seas and commander of the SS Guppy. It's a fun piece of pop culture trivia that's deliciously nerdy. Here's a challenge for all the word nerds out there. What's the longest word in the English language that contains no vowels? A, E, I, O, or U? You might think for a moment and maybe come up with words like sky or fly. But the answer is a bit longer. The longest common English word without a traditional vowel is rhythms. But wait, you say, what about the Y? In linguistics, you can act as a semi-vowel, functioning as a vowel to make the word pronounceable. So, while it breaks the no vowels at all rule in a technical sense, it's widely accepted as the answer to this classic riddle because it lacks any of the 5 main vowels. It's a perfect example of how the rules of English are beautifully inconsistent and full of fascinating exceptions. Rhythms. It's a word that even looks like it sounds, full of hard, percussive consonants. Now, let's shift gears from lighthearted trivia to a truly incredible story of wartime deception. During World War II, Allied intelligence came up with a daring and brilliant plan codenamed Operation Mincemeat. The goal was to fool the enemy into thinking the Allies were going to invade Greece, when the real target was Sicily. To do this, they needed a messenger who couldn't be interrogated. Their solution? They used a corpse, the body of a homeless man, and created a completely fake identity for him as Major William Martin of the Royal Marines. They dressed him in an officer's uniform, chained a briefcase full of fake top-secret invasion plans to his wrist, and set the body adrift off the coast of Spain, where they knew neutral but pro-German officials would find it. The Spanish authorities found the body, the documents were passed on to the enemy, and they fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. The real man behind this story was posthumously known as the Man Who Never Was. This incredible deception saved thousands of lives and helped turn the tide of the war. From a ship that was meant to be found, we turned to one that tragically wasn't. Everyone knows the story of the Titanic, the unsinkable ship that hit an iceberg and sank on its maiden voyage in 1912, leading to a catastrophic loss of life. It's a story of hubris and tragedy. But what many people don't know is that there was another ship incredibly close by that night, a ship that could have potentially saved hundreds of people. This ship was the SS Californian. It had stopped for the night because of the same ice field that doomed the Titanic. It was estimated to be only 10 to 20 miles away. The crew of the Californian saw the distress rockets fired by the Titanic, but the captain, Stanley Lord, had gone to bed. His crew, unsure of what the rockets meant, tried to signal the mystery ship with a Morse lamp, but got no reply. They didn't wake their captain, and they didn't turn on their wireless radio. By the time they understood the scale of the disaster the next morning, it was too late. The Californian's failure to act remains one of the most haunting what-ifs in maritime history. I'm going to say a name, and I want you to picture how it's spelled in your head. Ready? Pennsylvania, the state. Now, be honest. How many N's did you put in the middle? Did you spell it Pennsylvania? If you did, you're like millions of other people who make the same mistake. The correct spelling is Pennsylvania, with only one N after the E. It comes from Penn's Woods, named after William Penn. The double N at the end is correct, but that first one is single. It's a classic example of how our brains can create false patterns, making us so sure of a spelling that we never stop to double-check. It's a humbling little reminder that even the simplest things can surprise us. Did you know that the metal thingy shoe stores use to measure your feet has a name? It's called a Brannock device. Yep, next time you're getting sized up, you can drop that little piece of trivia. It was invented back in the 1920s by Charles F. Brannock. It's been a staple in shoe stores ever since, ensuring we don't cram our feet into shoes that are too small. So, thank Mr. Brannock for saving your toes. Speaking of weird words, have you ever heard of a scruple? No, not the moral kind. A scruple was an old unit of measurement used by apothecaries. It was equal to about 20 grains, or roughly 1/24 of an ounce. Imagine your pharmacist saying, "That'll be 3 scruples of powdered whatever." It sounds like something straight out of a fantasy novel, but it was a real, everyday measurement for centuries. Now, let's talk about speed. When you think of the first car to break the 100-mile-per-hour barrier, what comes to mind? A noisy, gas-guzzling beast, right? Well, you might be surprised to learn that it was actually an electric car. Back in 1899, a Belgian race car driver named Camille Janazzi piloted a torpedo-shaped electric vehicle called La Jamais Contente, which translates to the Never Satisfied. He hit a blistering 105.88 kilometers per hour, or about 65.79 km/h, but another electric car broke the 100-mi barrier shortly after. It just goes to show that electric vehicles have been pushing the limits of technology for over a century. From fast cars to giant rubber ducks. That's right, the world's largest rubber duck isn't in your bathtub. It's a massive inflatable sculpture that has traveled the globe. While it doesn't have a permanent home, it famously graced the waters of Vancouver, Canada. Created by Dutch artist Florentine Hofmann, this cheerful yellow giant stands several stories high and is meant to bring joy and connect people. Imagine sailing into the harbor and being greeted by a rubber duck the size of a building. It's a whimsical reminder not to take life too seriously. Let's shift gears to a more serious topic from history: the Manhattan Project. You've probably heard the name, but do you know what it was? It wasn't an urban development plan for New York City. The Manhattan Project was the top-secret code name for the American-led research and development project during World War II that produced the first nuclear weapons. It involved some of the most brilliant scientific minds of the 20th century, working in hidden laboratories across the country. It's a somber piece of history that dramatically changed the world and warfare forever. Now, for something a little more cosmic. Have you ever heard someone say something will take light years? People often use it to mean a very long time, but that's a common misconception. A light year is actually a unit of distance, not time. It's the distance that light travels in 1 year, which is a mind-boggling 9.46 trillion kilometers, or about 5.88 trillion miles. So, when you look at a star that's 4 light years away, you're seeing light that started its journey 4 years ago. It's like looking into the past. Let's come back down to Earth, right down to the ground. Think about all the ants crawling around the planet right now. It's an astronomical number. But here's a fact that might make your skin crawl a little. Scientists estimate that the total weight of all the ants on Earth is roughly equal to, or possibly even greater than, the total weight of all the humans on the planet. There are quadrillions of them. And while each one is tiny, their collective biomass is absolutely massive. It's a humbling thought, isn't it? We share this world with a silent, 6-legged superorganism, from the world of nature to the world of Hollywood glamour. What do you think is the most expensive movie prop ever sold at auction? A lightsaber? A DeLorean? Nope. It was the iconic white halter dress worn by Marilyn Monroe in the 1955 film The 7-Year Itch. You know the one from the famous subway grate scene. That dress, a symbol of classic Hollywood, sold for a staggering $4.6 million in 2011. It just shows the incredible power and lasting legacy of a single moment in cinema history. Now let's get small. Really small. What's the smallest bone in your body? You might be surprised to find out it's tucked away deep inside your ear. It's called the stapes, or stirrup bone, because it's shaped just like a tiny stirrup. It's only about 3 by 2.5 millimeters, smaller than a grain of rice. This tiny bone plays a huge role in your ability to hear by transmitting sound vibrations from the other bones in the middle ear to the inner ear. It's amazing how such a minuscule part of our anatomy can have such a profound impact on our senses. Now, what do you call a group of crows? A flock? A gaggle? The proper term is a murder. A murder of crows. It sounds ominous, doesn't it? This term dates back to the 15th century and is thought to originate from old folk tales and superstitions that associated crows with death and darkness. So next time you see a group of them gathered on a telephone wire, you can say, "Look, a murder of crows." It's a fun, slightly spooky fact to know. What's the longest word in the English language that doesn't have a true vowel? Give up. It's rhythm. Yep, That's right. The letter I steps in to do the heavy lifting, acting as a semi-vowel. It's a perfect example of how wonderfully weird the English language can be. It just dances to the beat of its own drum, or should I say, to its own rhythm. From words to weapons, let's talk about something with a bit more impact. Have you ever heard of the Tsar Bomba? This wasn't just any bomb, it was the most powerful nuclear weapon ever detonated. Exploded by the Soviet Union in 1961, the blast was so immense that it shattered windows over 560 miles, or 900 kilometers, away. To put that into perspective, that's like a blast in Paris breaking windows in London. The shockwave reportedly circled the Earth 3 times. It's a chilling reminder of the incredible and terrifying power humans have harnessed. Now, let's lighten the mood and fly into the animal kingdom. We all know a group of lions is a pride and a group of wolves is a pack. But what do you call a group of owls? A parliament. That's right, a parliament of owls. It's thought to originate from the idea that owls are wise and solemn creatures, much like esteemed members of a governing body. Can you just picture them, all perched on a branch, hooting and debating the important issues of the forest? Who's on vole duty tonight? Speaking of things that seem ancient, let's travel back in time. Which do you think is older? The prestigious University of Oxford or the mighty Aztec Empire? If you guessed Oxford, you're correct. Teaching at Oxford started as early as 1096, and the university was officially established by 1249. The Aztec Empire, on the other hand, was founded in 1325 with the establishment of their capital, Tenochtitlan. So, Oxford University had been shaping minds for over 200 years before the Aztecs even began building their incredible civilization. It really puts the timeline of human history into a new perspective, doesn't it? From ancient history to modern mystery, let's sail into some choppy waters. The Bermuda Triangle, that legendary patch of the Atlantic Ocean where ships and planes supposedly vanish without a trace. It's the stuff of countless books, documentaries, and campfire stories. But here's a fact that might sink your conspiracy theories. The U.S. Navy doesn't even recognize the Bermuda Triangle as an official geographic region. They state that the number of disappearances in that area is no greater than in any other heavily traveled part of the ocean. It seems the biggest mystery is why the mystery became so famous in the first place. All right, let's get a little weird. We're heading down under to talk about one of Australia's cutest and strangest creatures, the wombat. These furry marsupials have a unique superpower, but it's not what you think. Wombat poop is cube-shaped. I'm not kidding. They produce around 80 to 100 of these little cubes every night. Scientists believe this shape prevents the droppings from rolling away, which is important because wombats use their poop to mark their territory. It's a bizarre but brilliant evolutionary trait. Nature truly is full of incredible and sometimes blocky solutions. Sticking with nature's little surprises, let's talk fruit. Picture a strawberry. It's red, sweet, and has berry right in the name. But, botanically speaking, a strawberry is not a true berry. It's technically an aggregate accessory fruit. Its seeds are on the outside, which is a big no-no in the berry world. Now, guess what is a berry? A banana. That's right. By the botanical definition, a fruit produced from a single ovary with seeds on the inside, bananas, grapes, and even avocados are all berries. So next time you make a fruit salad, you can impress your friends with that little piece of trivia. Let's leave Earth's oddities behind and blast off into space. Being an astronaut is a dream for many, but it comes with some unique challenges. For instance, have you ever wondered what happens when an astronaut gets sad? They can't cry properly. In the microgravity of space, there's no gravity to pull the tears down their cheeks. Instead, the tears just form a little liquid blob that stings their eyes and floats around. Astronauts have described it as a very uncomfortable experience. It's a small but fascinating detail about the realities of life beyond our planet. From the vastness of space back down to a simple tool you probably have on your desk right now, a pencil. It seems so humble, but it holds incredible potential. The average wooden pencil contains enough graphite to draw a line about 35 miles long. If you were to use that same pencil for writing, you could write approximately 45,000 words. That's enough to write a short novel. So the next time you pick up a pencil, remember the sheer volume of ideas, stories, and sketches locked away inside that tiny stick of wood and graphite. Imagine this. Some of the twinkling lights you see up there are from stars so far away that their light began its journey to your eyes long before dinosaurs roamed the earth. Yes, you heard that right. When you gaze at the stars, you're not just looking at a beautiful celestial canvas, you are literally looking back in time. The light from a star a million light-years away shows you what that star looked like a million years ago. It's like having a cosmic time machine, and all you need are your own two eyes. This ability to peer into the past lets us see the universe as it was, not as it is. It's a fundamental concept in astronomy. The farther we look, the further back in time we see. This is how we've been able to piece together the history of our cosmos. And speaking of how far we can look, let's talk about the sheer scale of it all. The part of the universe that we can see, what we call the observable universe, is estimated to be about 93 billion light-years in diameter. To put that in perspective, a single light-year is nearly 6 trillion miles. Wrap your head around that for a second. It's a distance so vast that it's almost impossible for our human brains to truly comprehend. And that's just the part we can see. What lies beyond that edge? The honest and perhaps most exciting answer is, we don't know. It could be more of the same, stretching on infinitely, or it could be something completely different, something beyond our current understanding of physics. The mystery is part of the magic. So, how far back can we look? What's the oldest thing we can see? We can actually see the baby picture of the universe. It's called the cosmic microwave background radiation, or CMB. This isn't light from a star, but rather the faint leftover glow from the Big Bang itself. It's the afterglow of creation, the very first light that was able to travel freely through space about 380,000 years after the universe began. When we map this radiation, we're seeing a snapshot of the universe when it was just an infant, a hot, dense soup of particles. These tiny temperature fluctuations in the CMB were the seeds that eventually grew into the vast structures we see today, like galaxies and galaxy clusters. It's the oldest story ever told, written in microwaves across the entire sky. Now, here's where things get even stranger. Not only is the universe incomprehensibly vast, but it's also getting bigger every single second. And it's not just expanding. The expansion is accelerating. Galaxies are moving away from each other, and the farther away they are, the faster they're receding. Some of the most distant galaxies we can observe are flying away from us at speeds approaching the speed of light. This accelerating expansion is one of the biggest puzzles in modern cosmology. Scientists believe it's driven by a mysterious force called dark energy, which seems to make up about 70% of the entire universe. We can't see it, we can't detect it directly, but we see its effects pushing everything apart. It's as if the universe has its foot on the gas pedal, and we have no idea who's driving. This idea of a vast, expanding cosmos naturally leads to some even more mind-bending theories. What if our universe isn't the only one? This is the concept of the multiverse. The theory of cosmic inflation, which explains the very early, rapid expansion of the universe, also suggests that this process could have happened over and over again, creating countless bubble universes, each with potentially different physical laws and constants. Our universe would be just one bubble in an infinite cosmic foam of other universes. Think about that. An infinite number of realities, an infinite number of possibilities playing out simultaneously. While we have no direct evidence for the multiverse yet, it's a mathematically plausible outcome of our best theories about the universe's origins. It takes the feeling of being small and multiplies it by infinity. And where could we find a gateway to these other potential universes? Some physicists have a radical idea: black holes. We typically think of black holes as cosmic vacuum cleaners, objects with gravity so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape. But what happens inside? According to Einstein's theory of general relativity, at the center of a black hole is a singularity, a point of infinite density where the laws of physics as we know them break down. Some speculative theories propose that these singularities could be bridges, or wormholes, connecting our universe to another, or even a different point in our own space-time. Could a black hole be a one-way door to a whole new reality? It's a concept straight out of science fiction, but it's one that a small but serious group of physicists are exploring. The universe is already stranger than we can imagine. Perhaps it's even stranger than we can imagine. All of these incredible phenomena, the expanding universe, black holes, the journey of light, are governed by a fundamental yet bizarre property of the cosmos, the fabric of space-time itself. Albert Einstein showed us that space and time are not separate, static concepts, but are woven together into a single, four-dimensional continuum. And this fabric isn't rigid. It can bend, stretch, and warp in the presence of mass and energy. This is what we feel as gravity. A planet orbiting a star is like a marble rolling around a bowling ball placed on a trampoline. The star's mass creates a dip in space-time, and the planet follows that curve. And when massive objects like black holes collide, they send out ripples in this fabric, like a pebble dropped in a pond. These are gravitational waves, and we've actually detected them here on Earth, opening a brand new window to observe the most violent and energetic events in the cosmos. We all know Jupiter, the big guy of our solar system. But did you know it's a bit of a moon collector? As of the latest count, Jupiter has a staggering 95 confirmed moons orbiting it, and that number keeps growing as our telescopes get better. Imagine looking up from Jupiter and seeing a sky filled with almost 100 different moons. It's like a celestial party that never ends. Each moon is its own unique world, from the volcanic Io to the icy Europa, which might even hide a subsurface ocean. It really makes our one little moon seem a bit lonely, doesn't it? Now, let's hop over to our other neighbor, Venus. This planet is the ultimate rebel of the solar system. While most planets, including Earth, spin counterclockwise, Venus spins backward or clockwise. This is called retrograde rotation. Scientists have a few theories why. Maybe a giant impact knocked it off kilter billions of years ago. But that's not even the weirdest part. Venus spins so incredibly slowly that a single day on Venus, one full rotation, lasts for 243 Earth days. Here's the kicker. Its orbit around the Sun, its year, only takes about 225 Earth days. That's right, a day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus. You could literally celebrate your birthday before the sun sets on the same day you woke up. Talk about a long work day. Feeling a little small yet? Let's zoom out, way out. A common question people ask is, where is the center of the universe? It's a natural thing to wonder. We think of explosions having a center point, right? But the Big Bang wasn't an explosion in space, it was the expansion of space itself. So, the universe has no center. From any point in any galaxy, it looks like everything is moving away from you. Every direction you look, the universe is expanding equally. It means that you, right now, are just as much at the center of the universe as any other point in existence. It's a mind-bending concept that challenges our very perception of place and position in the cosmos. There's no single "you are here" sticker for the universe. Let's talk about something shiny. Where does gold come from? You might think it's just a rare metal from deep within the Earth, but its origin story is far more spectacular. Most of the gold, platinum, and other heavy elements in the universe were forged in one of the most violent events imaginable, the collision of neutron stars. These are the superdense remnants of massive stars that have gone supernova. When two of these cosmic relics spiral into each other and merge, the resulting explosion, called a kilonova, is so powerful that it creates and flings these precious metals across the galaxy. So, the gold in your jewelry? It was literally born from a cataclysmic stellar death. You're wearing stardust of the most epic kind. Now, for a paradox. Where is the coldest place in the universe? You'd probably guess some distant, dark corner of deep space, far from any star. And you'd be wrong. The coldest known temperature ever recorded wasn't in space, it was right here on Earth, in a laboratory. The cosmic microwave background, the leftover heat from the Big Bang, keeps deep space at a chilly but still above absolute zero temperature of about 2.7 Kelvin. But scientists at places like MIT have used lasers to cool atoms down to just a fraction of a degree above absolute zero, that ES, negative 273.15 degrees Celsius, or negative 459.67 Fahrenheit. This creates a state of matter called a Bose-Einstein condensate, where atoms behave in incredibly strange quantum ways. We've literally created conditions colder than space in a lab. Feeling down? The universe has a smile for you. The Hubble Space Telescope, our eye in the sky, once captured an image of a galaxy cluster that looks just like a smiley face. The cluster, officially known as SDSS J1038 Plow48049, features two bright galaxies for the eyes and a cosmic arc for the mouth. This arc is a fantastic example of something called gravitational lensing. The immense gravity of the galaxy cluster bends the light from a much more distant galaxy behind it, distorting it into a curve that looks just like a smile. It's a beautiful, happy accident of cosmic physics, reminding us that the universe can be playful and surprising. So next time you're feeling blue, just remember there's a giant smiley face out there in the cosmos. Speaking of feeling blue, let's talk about sunsets. Here on Earth, we're treated to beautiful red, orange, and pink sunsets because our atmosphere scatters blue light more effectively. But on Mars, it's the exact opposite. While the Martian daytime sky is a dusty, butterscotch color, its sunsets are blue. The fine dust in Mars's thin atmosphere scatters red light forward, so when you look towards the setting sun, you see the blue light that's coming more directly from it. The area immediately around the setting sun on the horizon glows with a distinct blue hue. It's an alien, hauntingly beautiful sight, and a perfect example of how the same physics can create wildly different results on other worlds. Now the astronaut suit. It's more than just a uniform, it's a personal spaceship. One of its most critical jobs is to provide pressure. Space is a vacuum, and without pressure the liquids in an astronaut's body would literally boil away. So, the suits are pressurized, but they aren't pumped up to match Earth's full atmospheric pressure. That would make the suit too stiff and difficult to move in. Instead, they are pressurized to about 1/3 of Earth's atmospheric pressure. To compensate for this lower pressure, astronauts have to breathe pure oxygen for a few hours before a spacewalk to purge the nitrogen from their bodies and prevent a condition similar to the bends that divers get. It's a delicate balancing act between survival and mobility. Picture every single beach on Earth, from the sunny coasts of California to the black sands of Iceland. Now, try to imagine counting every single grain of sand on all of them. It's an impossible number, right? Well, hold on to your hats, because there are more stars in the universe than all those grains of sand combined. Billions and billions of stars, scattered across trillions of galaxies. It's a number so vast, our brains can barely comprehend it. And these aren't just your average twinkling yellow lights. Some stars are absolute monsters, burning so intensely hot that their color isn't yellow or red. It's a brilliant, piercing blue-white. These blue giants are like the rock stars of the cosmos, living fast and shining incredibly brightly. They're a stunning reminder that even something as familiar as a star can come in spectacular and extreme varieties. Now, you've probably heard the famous line, "In space, no one can hear you scream." And for the most part, that's true. The vacuum of deep space is so empty that sound waves have nothing to travel through. It's a profound, absolute silence. But that doesn't mean the universe is quiet. Instead of sound, radio waves whisper through eternity, carrying messages from distant stars and galaxies. These are the secret conversations of the cosmos, traveling for light years across the void. It's like the universe's own private radio station, and we're just now learning how to tune in. But here's where it gets truly eerie. While sound can't travel through a vacuum, it can travel through gas. Recently, NASA managed to capture the sound of a supermassive black hole. They detected pressure waves rippling through a massive cloud of gas surrounding a black hole billions of light-years away and translated them into a note. The result? A ghostly, deep hum, unimaginably lower than anything a human can hear. It's the most distant and ancient note ever detected. A B-flat played across the universe for billions of years. It's like hearing the voice of a cosmic ghost. Let's bring it a little closer to home. Have you ever wondered what space smells like? Astronauts who have returned from spacewalks have actually described it. When they come back inside and take off their helmets, they report a very distinct odor clinging to their suits. They describe it as a mix of gunpowder, hot metal from welding fumes, and even a hint of burnt steak. This bizarre cosmic perfume is thought to come from polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are molecules that float around in the vastness of space. So, the next time you have a barbecue, you might be getting a tiny whiff of the final frontier. Speaking of our cosmic neighborhood, our own galaxy, the Milky Way, isn't as peaceful as it looks. It's actually a bit of a bully. Right now, the Milky Way is slowly but surely eating smaller galaxies that get too close. It's a process of galactic cannibalism. One of its current victims is a small galaxy called the Sagittarius Dwarf, which is being stretched and pulled apart by our galaxy's immense gravity. Over millions of years, its stars will be completely absorbed into the Milky Way, becoming part of our own cosmic family. It's a dramatic, slow-motion cosmic collision happening right under our noses. Now, let's talk about some of the most extreme objects in the universe. Imagine something so dense that a tiny piece of it has an unimaginable weight. I'm talking about a neutron star. These are the collapsed cores of massive stars, and they are incredibly dense. How dense? Well, if you could somehow scoop up a single teaspoon of neutron star material, that tiny spoonful would weigh more than Mount Everest. Let that sink in. An entire mountain with all its rock and ice packed into a volume smaller than a sugar cube. It's one of the most mind-bending concepts in all of physics. But what about cosmic treasures? The universe has those too, and I mean literal treasures. Astronomers have discovered a planet about 40 light-years away that is truly a gem. It's called 55 Cancri e, and it's believed to be made largely of carbon. Given the immense pressure and temperature on this super-Earth, scientists theorize that a significant portion of it has crystallized into diamond. That's right, an entire planet of diamond, twice the size of Earth. It's a treasure hunter's ultimate fantasy, floating in the cosmic darkness. Let's turn our attention back to the star of our own show, the Sun. It feels so permanent and steady, but it's actually in a constant state of change. The Sun generates energy by fusing hydrogen into helium, and in this process it converts matter into energy. Every single second, our Sun loses about 4 million tons of its mass. That's like vaporizing several aircraft carriers every second of every day. Don't worry though, the Sun is so massive that it has enough fuel to keep burning for another 5 billion years. And while the Sun is losing all that mass, its light is on a constant journey to us. When you step outside and feel the warmth of the Sun on your face, you're experiencing light that started its journey a little while ago. Specifically, it takes light from the Sun just over 8 minutes to travel the 93 million miles to reach your eyes. So, if the Sun were to magically disappear, we wouldn't know about it for 8 minutes. You're always seeing the Sun as it was in the recent past. It's a constant, tiny bit of time travel. Let's talk about what space does to the human body. Being in a microgravity environment has some pretty strange effects. Without the constant downward pull of Earth's gravity, an astronaut's spine can decompress and straighten out. The result? They can actually grow up to 2 inches taller while they're in space. It's a temporary height boost, though. As soon as they return to Earth, gravity goes back to work, and they slowly shrink back to their normal height. It's a small price to pay for touching the stars. And there you have it. A whirlwind tour of some of the most incredible, mind-bending facts about our universe. From diamond planets to the smell of burnt steak in space, the cosmos is weirder and more wonderful than we can possibly imagine. Every new discovery just opens up 1,000 new questions. What a wild and beautiful universe we live in. Did you know that the first ever computer mouse was made of wood? Imagine scrolling through your feed with a block of timber. Speaking of things that seem unbelievable, let's talk about the Standard Model in physics. It's this incredible theory that basically explains everything, all the fundamental forces and particles that make up our universe. It's like the ultimate how-to guide for reality. But our minds are just as complex. Take trypophobia, for example. That's the intense, irrational fear of clusters of holes. It sounds strange, but for some people, seeing a honeycomb or even a lotus seed pod can trigger real anxiety. It just shows how our brains can create powerful, sometimes bizarre, reactions to the world around us. Speaking of strange reactions, have you ever heard of the Boston molasses flood? Back in 1919, a massive storage tank burst, unleashing a 25-foot-high wave of molasses that swept through the streets of Boston at 35 miles per hour. It was a sticky, devastating disaster that, tragically, took 21 lives. It's a bizarre and somber reminder of how industrial accidents can take the most unexpected forms. From the cosmic scale of physics to the strange and sometimes tragic events of history, our world is full of stories that defy belief. Now let's switch gears and head over to Finland. This country has a unique claim to fame. It has more saunas than cars. For Finns, the sauna isn't just a luxury. It's a deep-rooted part of their culture, a place for relaxation, socializing, and well-being. Imagine a country where unwinding in a hot, steamy room is more common than your daily commute. It's a fascinating look at different cultural priorities. And speaking of different priorities, how about the first item ever sold on eBay? It wasn't a rare collectible or a piece of tech. It was a broken laser pointer, and someone actually bought it for $14.83. The founder of eBay even contacted the buyer to make sure he knew it was broken. The buyer's response? "I'm a collector of broken laser pointers." It just goes to show there's a market for absolutely everything. This brings us to one of the most fascinating phenomena in psychology, the placebo effect. You've probably heard of it. When a person feels better after taking a fake treatment, like a sugar pill, simply because they believe it will work. But here's the kicker. Recent studies have shown that the placebo effect can work even when the person knows they're taking a placebo. They can be told this is just a sugar pill with no active ingredients, and still report feeling better. This suggests that the ritual of treatment and the power of positive expectation can have a real, measurable impact on our health, completely separate from the medicine itself. Our minds are truly powerful tools. Let's take another look at our body's weird quirks. Ever wondered why you blush? When you feel embarrassed or self-conscious, your body releases a rush of adrenaline. It's the same hormone involved in your fight or flight response. This adrenaline rush causes the blood vessels in your face to dilate, bringing more blood to the surface and giving you those rosy cheeks. It's an involuntary physical reaction to a purely emotional state. So, the next time you feel your face heat up, you can thank a little surge of adrenaline for broadcasting your feelings to the world. From the inner workings of our bodies, let's travel back in time to the shadowy world of espionage. The Soviet Union's infamous secret police, the KGB, had a whole department dedicated to something called active measures. This wasn't about traditional spying. It was about political warfare, spreading disinformation, and manipulating public opinion in other countries. They forged documents, funded front organizations, and planted false stories in the media to sow discord and advance Soviet interests. It's a chilling reminder of how information itself can be weaponized and how a battle for hearts and minds has been fought in the shadows for decades. Now, for a much lighter topic, let's step into the world of cinema. What do you think was the very first feature-length animated film? If you guessed a Disney movie, you're right. It was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, released all the way back in 1937. Before this, animations were just short cartoons. Walt Disney took a huge gamble, investing an enormous amount of money and years of work to create a full-length animated story. Many in Hollywood called it Disney's folly and predicted it would fail spectacularly. But it became a massive success, captivating audiences and paving the way for the entire genre of animated feature films that we love today. It's a testament to the power of vision and taking creative risks. So, we've journeyed from the fundamental laws of the universe to the bizarre stickiness of a molasses flood, from the warmth of Finnish saunas to the chilling tactics of the KGB. We have seen how a wooden block became a computer mouse and how a broken laser pointer started an online revolution. We've explored how our minds can heal us with fake pills and how our bodies betray our emotions with a simple blush. The world is a museum of wonders, oddities, and incredible stories. Each fact is a doorway to a deeper understanding of science, history, and human nature. What seems random at first glance often connects in surprising ways, painting a richer, more fascinating picture of the world we live in. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through some of the most interesting facts I could find. If you enjoyed this and want to learn more weird and wonderful things about our world, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps us out and ensures you won't miss our next dive into the amazing and the unknown. We'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these facts surprised you the most? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.